passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on, so Nuoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Mugello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and approach he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah, and
It's all about the entertainment, so I hope
everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Does he have it? Medeiros is going to get it. Medeiros is going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such chopper. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Hello and welcome to the very first of the GT3 Endurance Championship for Premier Endurance League for 2024. 2 weeks ago, we came to this very pretty circuit to watch a bunch of GT4s go round in action, and for one of my commentary members, it very much was go round in action. But more on that as we progress through the coverage here tonight, as I welcome to the booth our regular stablemates. It is Jimmy Parfit and Pete Baxter, and Pete, a Mercedes GT4 in the rear end is never as glued as you think it's going to be, is it, mate?
A Mercedes GT4 in the rear end.
Yep.
Well, the old GT. Well, we're in GT3 tonight, but yeah, I wouldn't want to be driving a GT4 at the back of this field. I'll give you that tip.
And for you, Jimmy, you remember how we had a bet going with Pete about how long it would take for Porsches to do Porsche things? Well, for you, I think the new bet is going to be how long before Pete Baxter does Pete Baxter things behind the steering wheel. What do you think?
Well, I won that bet, but I did get a beautiful picture, mind you, of Pete holding the Union Jack. So he paid up on his bets. I can't really argue with him on that one. But at the end of the day,
maps up, boys. Get on with it.
It's going to be interesting. So let's get the grid up, ready to go for you there, Scotty. And it should be up with you in a second. There's hope.
When the hardware decides it doesn't want to crash. Been a little bit of that lately.
No, because it won't come up because we're in the warm-up, aren't we? We got a 5-minute warm-up.
Yep.
So it'll come up after that.
Yep.
I was going to say,
in the
Pete was
meantime,
getting
fellas,
all excited, telling us the grid's up, and then it's not up yet. Mr. Kiplom in YouTube chat says, "Let's go, fellas," and Rora Kibble says, "Let's go" as well. So welcome in. Thank you very much for joining us.
That's right. Hey, look, we've got a few minutes to go before the race start. Hey, what's new? 50 drivers tonight. 50 drivers tonight. That's the biggest server we had, I think, in the Premier Endurance League. And I've got to tell you, 26 elite drivers and 20, that makes 24 competitive drivers. So, complete mix of two classes, half and half. And a new rule that came out in between the two seasons was the car you select, or the brand you select for this series, is the one that you've got to have for every race. No single change, even if iRacing changes a car mid-season. How is that, Scotty?
Yeah, look, I think we're based upon that, there's probably not going to be much of an expansion to the GT3 class. For anyone who is lucky enough at the moment to, at the start of the season, to lock in the Ford is potentially going to be met with the Mustang coming out in a couple months' time when the season itself ends, which is going to make for an interesting little bit of a thing. And a lot of people watching along with that Mustang with a lot of enthusiasm. It was scanned at Daytona 24-hour, and it does mean, given that it's a Ford Motor Company car, that it's very, very likely, I think, we get it at the end of this season. They won't be waiting on that one too long, which is exciting for the whole world. It's been a while since we've had a Ford competing in the top level of GT3 racing globally, and even though the Ford GTE is still quite popular in iRacing, that will be sight to see. In the meantime, boys, Mugello, Pete, you found it a couple of weeks ago, and you found the rear end swinging around on you, and it wasn't all that great, but it takes some certain attributes of cars, and one of those is to handle long, flowing corners. You've got to have a car that rotates well.
You've got to have a car that is stable under braking while you're rotating, because the corners are such big corners. You're setting up for another one, and what happened to me is the back end of the Mercedes just got out of control a couple of times, and you've really got to be careful about your timing. There's not a lot. Trail braking under some of these corners at Mugello is very, very difficult, particularly in the GT4, as I found out. But I also found out it's actually not an easy place to pass. All around the back of the circuit, there's not, unless somebody makes a mistake, it's very, very difficult to get enough drive to get in front of somebody and overlap them and overtake them. So essentially, you're really trying to set yourself up for only one or two corners. And the end of the main straight's the first one, obviously. And really, it's then somebody makes a mistake and potentially it's like you don't get around another chance to get around the back end of the circuit. So difficult to overtake. I think if people try too hard, I think our good old racing control will have a big night. Poor fellas. But a night for patience tonight for sure.
I do want to say a big shout out to everyone that's participating along in the YouTube chat. It's always a pleasure to see you guys out there. Make sure that as well tonight you're sitting back and you're enjoying the racing action, and I would strongly recommend everyone that's watching along. I know I'm going to have a little rant on my podcast tomorrow, actually about the behaviour of spectators to iRacing events. But one of the benefits here, and one of the big things that I like about the Premier Endurance Racing League, is that the amount of respect and laughs had at everyone's expense. Generally, the person who's being laughed at is one of the ones that's really buying into the ticket. That might be an appropriate moment to point out how difficult Ricky Provenzali found his passing opportunities during the GT4s a couple of weeks ago. And I believe tonight there'll be multiple references made throughout the piece about the good old semi-trailer that our good old mate Jimmy Middleton will be driving as well, because that was a joy. Have you seen most of the memes you've been following along, Jimmy, in terms of things on Discord?
Not as much as I probably should do to be fair. But it's a bit difficult when you're in 75 of them. Checking in each day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're trying to check, and on obviously different time zones. So by the time I wake up, there's like 150 odd messages, and I'm sitting there thinking, do I have the patience to read through them all while I'm eating my morning breakfast? And generally, I then end up having to get distracted and getting something else done. So yeah. I haven't really caught up with it as well. Obviously, we remember that Jimmy and obviously Ricky going at it in the GT4s, and I think overall, that was a nice battle. It came out. There's YouTube shorts available for it as well. If you haven't seen it, you can go and have a look as well. So yeah, go and check it out because they were good. But the grid is ready now, and there you go, dear sir.
Yeah, that's it. It's time to make our way up and down the grid. This is round number 1 of the Premier Endurance Racing League for 2024. 2 hours coming live your way from the Mugello circuit, and a new driver to the league. A new driver puts it on pole position to start things off. It's going to be Stuart Shaw in the 93 machine to land on the pole position, and he's going to be closely followed by the entire grid. It's an all Porsche front row. Off alongside of him is Adam Jepson, who moves over to the Porsche for Bluebell Racing Team. Owen Coleman in the fairly average racing team, colloquially known as the Fart Racing Team, also in a Porsche, moves out of the Mercedes for this season, alongside of Leith McClummett off of the second row of the grid. Ben Jeffrey is on row number 3 and is the 5th Porsche in a row, all Porsche top 5, before we'll move into the first of the non-Porsches, which will be Alex Kay off alongside of him for the AK Racing Team. He will be in the first of the Ferraris. Immediately in behind him, row number 4 is going to be the first of the BMWs, which will be Desmond Harbinger, off alongside of Nick Wood, last season's champion, is going to be coming off of row number 4. For row number 5, it's going to be Richard Mayer and Trent Allen in a Porsche BMW combination for positions 9 and 10. Hugo Sutherland and Ben Woods round out your top 12. Take it away, Jimmy.
Yeah, so then we've got Aaron Raccanello in 13th, with Tyson Robbs on 14th. Mark Foster will be there in 15th, with Rue Coistra next to him in 16th. Greg Brooks 17th, John O'Kiley 18th. Then we've got Jacob Hughes, Andrew Dutch, Andrew Gretsch, Glenn Arnott, Danny Mangry, and Tom Williams. The cars are moving, so we'll need to get a little bit of a wriggle on with Martin Halloran, Alfonso Latella, Brooke Cadet, Chris Ruddle, Nick Bottrill, Isaac Norman round out the top 30, Adam Holland, Darren Burgess, Kosh Kelly, Matt Kidd, James Solani, and Chris Pellick, your top 36 there, Scotty.
Yeah, and we'll throw it over one more row. We'll get back to 37th, which is going to be Jimmy Middleton, off alongside of Matthew Norris, Daniel Fritz, and Robert Edwards round out your top 40. Before we get into the final 10 drivers on the grid, Christopher Cornelio Malpal in 41st and 42nd, Brent Tucker and Benjamin Brook off of row number 22, Jessee McMenamin and Sean Bonici, 45th and 46th. The last qualifying time laid down by Greg McIntosh in 47th. Before we'll have Andrew Proctor and Ricky Provenzali from the final row of the grid. Keep your eyes off of that Pete Baxter fellow. He's not driving. He's just registered in there just in case he wanted to do some laps in the testing session. He's alongside us in commentary. Pete, you're not out and turning laps there this evening. Confirm for me?
No, that's right. Not out and turning laps, but I'm in the service, so I get a little bit of extra data in some of my my feeds. So that helps me considerably, and so hopefully it helps us bring some of the extra information to everybody listening in terms of who's doing what pit stops, how long they've been, and whether they're in incidents and things like that. So
more importantly, I'd like to point out to you, Jimmy, he actually registered in a Porsche. I'll have you know.
It's typical, isn't it? No, he weren't too happy about it, you know what I mean? He didn't even have to register. He could have just clicked watch and he would have got the same information. But we'll have that chat a little bit later.
Now we have a Porsche. Now we know he would have registered for a Porsche if he had the choice.
We'll come back to that later. In fact, well, let's cover it before it goes green. 17 Porsches tonight in GT3, 5 BMWs, 8 Ferraris, 2 Lambos, 4 Audis, 8 Mercs. So
Well, it's actually really interesting, Pete. Those Audis, I thought they'd be bigger.
Yeah, I mean, Audis have historically been, the go-to GT3.
Well, particularly with it receiving the Audi Evo 2 package as well, that's just come to iRacing as well. The car has been overperforming, and indeed is one of the quickest. One of the commentary duties I was fulfilling this morning was the OSR 12 hour, which I know that you were a part of Race Control and watching along there along with Pete, and they were the supreme car over there. So anyway, 50 cars fill the server, ladies and gentlemen. And as you can tell, that is taxing not only for the race controllers, it's taxing for the drivers who are going to be behind the wheel. We'll have 2 more corners to go through. Top right-hand corner of your screen is the track map, the long front straightaway. Turn 1's quite slow, multiple lines through 1, 2 and 3, the tight chicane. Before you get to 3 and 4, the wider chicane. Then it's down the hill, down to 5, 6, 7 and 8. Before we'll turn and start the run back up the hill at 9. 10, 11 is the fast, again, another slower chicane. 12, a big old rotational corner, very, very long and tight. 13 and 14, the fastest chicane on the circuit. Bit of a kick to the left, bit of a kick to the right. Then it's down to the final corner. Turn 15, there's an uphill run to the flag, by the way, which hindered somebody from the GT4 action a couple of weeks ago. Ran out of fuel, didn't quite make it home, didn't finish the race because it was an uphill run to the flag. Well, they're on the uphill run to the flag as it now comes. Stuart Shaw from pole position has control of the field. The iRacing safety car feeds off exit stage left, and now Stuart Shaw holds no time before he gets underway. He wants to get a huge run, and a huge run he's managed to get. Owen Coleman's actually going to get past as down through the middle comes Jessee McMenamin, looking to be aggressive as well. Leith looking strong in season 2024. We'll see if he's got what it takes to go right around the outside of Adam Jepson as they all try and file in. Who's got the bravery? Who's got the balls? Jepson sends it in, parks it up on the apex. That's going to allow Coleman to come back on through, and it's all action as they get through turn 1.
Yeah, Owen Coleman doing an absolute incredible job at the moment. He's making his way through with Leith McMenamin, Adam Jepson and Stuart Shaw. Ben Jeffrey and Des Harbinger there as well got away. There doesn't seem to be any major incidents. Drew Coistra is in the pits. I think Kosh Kelly may have jumped straight back to the pits as well. But everybody else has got away cleanly. Battles all the way down from Alex Kay as he's side by side in that Ferrari at the moment with Hugo Sutherland, who's going to make his way through as well. Hugo there tucked up right behind Alex Kay with Trent Allen trying to fight his way through there as well.
There was a little bit of minor contact between Ben Woods and Aaron Racconello just coming out of turn 1. Nothing to upset either of the cars.
And everyone managing to settle themselves down and in on lap number 1. It's going to be a big old draft pack, particularly deeper in the field as everyone's sort of vying for that space. But out in front, Shaw's managed to put a reasonable margin on. Cold tyres, the first margin, the first hurdle to jump over. And the field doing their best to get through lap 1. Reasonably well. There's not been too many major incidents. There's a few battles up and down the field. Jimmy Middleton is actually going to go ahead and pick himself up a spot. I didn't quite see who that was he got past, but Middleton grabbed a spot heading on the run down to turn number 12. So good start for Middleton.
Yeah, it is a good start for Middleton. Scotty, I'm just watching a bit down the pack. We've had a little bit of an incident. Benjamin Brook has had a little bit of a coming together with Brant Tucker and Mal Powell, something that maybe Race Control want to have a look at. There's a little bit of a check-up of cars as they went into turn 6 Casanova.
Yeah, I tell you what, Glenn Arnott was actually under quite a lot of assault coming into the last corner as well. It was Tom Williams that was really trying to apply a blowtorch to him. Got checked up, got backed up right underneath that rear wing, and then all of a sudden the BMW put the foot to the floor. And, well, throw that out the window. You'll never beat a BMW in a straight line. Now it's going to be Williams who's going to get assaulted on the run down to turn number 1. At this point in time, I believe it was Adrian Gretsch who tried to get down on in there. Did get down on in there and got through. And there's a couple cars we're seeing going through the lane.
Yeah, there has been a couple of cars. There's been a couple of cars that have had some incidents on that first lap. So it's not just the ones that we've already talked about, the last couple of cars. So Adam Lee Holland and Jimmy Middleton come together. And it looks like Jimmy Middleton got turned off the track. So he might have to do a bit of a tour of pit lane as well, use a bit of fast repair, get back out there. But essentially not a good start for a couple of drivers there. Just getting into a little bit of mess that they probably don't need to at the start of the race. It is a long race. It's 2 hours, so everybody's got an opportunity just to settle in and the good old race drive ahead, right? Red mist comes down, it's first lap, and you think you can make 5 positions, but I think the only thing you can really do on lap 1 is lose your race.
Well, one of the biggest issues is who's most brave on cold. And remember Craig Lowndes in his early years, how strong he was on cold tyres, and that was the real difference for Lowndesy, was just how potent he was whilst bringing that car up to temperature, and then from there it sort of stabilised around everyone else so it could come back at him a little bit. It's a little bit the same in the GT3 class these days. Those tyres stone cold when you first start off the race. It takes that 2 laps before you're even feeling confident, feeling comfortable on the tyres, and even then it's another lap or so before you're actually starting to properly get into the pace and into what you're trying to push through. So in the meantime, Field has survived lap number 2. Sure, still in control at this point in time, but Jepson's backed off here a little bit, Pete.
Has he backed off? Like, is Shaw showing us that he actually has that cold tyre skill, or are the rest of them? Because just about everybody else in that group, they've already done a couple of seasons of PL, and Stu Shaw's he's the new guy on the block to be out front. So I don't think he's raced these guys a lot in the past. So he might be sort of having to learn whether they've got tricks up their sleeves or whether they're just playing with him or not. But what do you do if you're fast enough? Get out the front and lead the whole race.
Yeah, and I've just had a quick look at some of the liveries up and down the field, by the way. Car sitting in 6th place, the first of the BMWs, Desmond Harbinger, has Hummus written across the front end of his car. So he gets an extra fan vote from me. I'm a big fan of Hummus. I'm wondering whether or not that might be a nickname for Harbinger.
Yeah, probably would make sense, wouldn't it?
Look, if you want to get my attention, just put pizza on the front of your car. You'll have me looking at the front end of your car for most of the race.
Yeah, but then we'll have you drooling, Scotty, and you might be able to commentate as well. So, there's pros and cons to everything we do.
Yeah, the other con is I'll be watching you for every little mistake you'll make from there on out as well. So they'll get called out.
That doesn't take long for me, mate.
Meanwhile, they've settled in now for lap number 3 in the books, and let's start to talk a little bit about those tyres, which I think where you were trying to take that conversation a couple moments ago at the start end of that lap that we just now completed. You were talking about Jepson, McCormick, and Jeffrey perhaps just sitting on their tyres a little bit. I mean, Stuart Shaw's got the clean air to the nose. That's his benefit. He's going to have a little bit more downforce, but a little bit of a recovery there from Adam Jepson. So I'm wondering exactly what you're thinking about, Pete, whether it might be just a little bit of conservation, just bring them in nice, look after them softly, gently.
Well, that's right. We know now with the current iRacing time model, you can kill a set of GT3 tyres really quick if you push too hard on them and you don't bring them up to speed. With a little bit of gentle care, and we'll see that in real life at Bathurst very shortly for the 12-hour. But it's simulated here, so the best drivers will be able to know exactly what they got over their whole stint. And I mean, for everybody watching tonight, the stint is about 20 to 21 laps, plus or minus. If they're green flag all the way, it's about 42 minutes of racing. Generally, for a GT3 car in iRacing, you can run the tyres for an hour or two if you're smooth with them, if you don't lock up and you don't overdrive the car. So shouldn't be too much of a problem, but you still have to bring them in from cold over about 1.5 to 2 laps to really get them up to pressure and where they need to be.
Well, at the moment, field is really condensed, basically between P7 and sort of 24th, 25th. And there's multiple incidents coming in on lap number 1, which, I mean, is bog standard, I think, just about for any series as it currently stands. It's basically, racing action, and the steward's looking that way as well at the moment, Pete. No further action on everything. So everything that did happen on lap number 1 was just deemed, well, that's lap number 1. You get a little bit, you got to give a little bit, you got to get a little bit more on lap 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a time to really go, and there's a time when it's not. And you know, and yeah, those lap one incidents called bit of racing. You know, cars condense.
Is there
Same
any
sort of thing after a safety car. Cars condense, get really close together, and it looks to be that the race controller just taken a little bit more of an open mind, and you know, bit of bump and barge maybe. Just you've got to have it a little bit of element in bumping and racing.
Oh, I'm aware.
And then go from that.
Sorry, mates. Just getting a little bit of the afternoon sun coming into my room, so just arranging some air conditioning to be put on. I'm boiling.
There you go. Scotty's got his missus working for him while he's doing a little bit of work. So
I was having this debate with somebody the other day. Well, okay, so I'll pass that on when the stream's finished. She's actually just left to turn the AC on nicely for me. We're actually just discussing it. I've got family over from Papua New Guinea at the moment, so you know, I'm sort of been spending my time with them. Haven't really been in the sim room much of the day, and walk back in here, and yeah, it's boiling, as it will be for multiple drivers up and around the field. So certainly one of the first issues is get your cooling activated, and I've got to come up with a new cooling system for this room. I'll tell you that much.
Well, mate, if you've got an air conditioner and you close the blinds, it should be able to do the job for you.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. Whoa, there's a huge moment, by the way. Racanello's just gone for a dive bomb down the middle of multiple cars. I reckon Tyson Robbs was involved with that one, and there's a car parked in the gravel as well. It was Trent Allen that's gone around, unfortunately. It was all triggered by Aaron Racanello. So we'll have to keep half an eye on that one. Hopefully we might be able to get a replay at some point in time. But there's been more contact, and Ben Woods has just gotten into the back of someone. And they've gone falling down the order out of the last corner. It was Ben Woods who come up the rear bumper. And it was one of the Frog League Juice cars who's now facing in the wrong direction, Pete. But we said it might have been gentle, bring it in. Well, that's all exploded in a matter of about 4 corners.
Yeah, no, look, that one with Ben Woods, I'm just having a quick look at it now, and it just looks, there's just might have been just a little bit of oversteer which slowed one car down, and it's just a bit of a ripple effect through the field. So, no real sort of, I think that's unlucky for everybody involved. One little bit over driving, but then the field's still condensed, so it wasn't anything silly, thankfully.
Yeah, well, immediately on the horn to race control, both of them. So race control is aware and dealing with the situation. So
have a look at it, Scotty.
Well, it's unfortunately, ladies and gents, it's going to be settled down, get into business, and once again, apologies to fans watching along at home. The thing is, when you get 50 cars in a server, Pete, it wreaks havoc on computers.
Well, yeah, no, it certainly does, and we get a little bit of a glitching, but I know JP's in the background working hard trying to fix this for everybody.
Just having a quick look at things in the background, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, we've already made that apology for it. One of the things we're going to try and do is we're going to step away here for about 5 minutes or so, try and get this all fixed up so we can come back to you with much cleaner and clearer pictures. So just bear with us, ladies and gents. We'll be right back. Thank you for bearing with us, ladies and gentlemen. In the meantime, I've done a hot swap on a mic as well. So not only have we managed to fix that stream quality, its sound quality is going to be improved as we push through the evening. Well, ladies and gents, a couple incidents have happened sort of in the last lap or so, and John O'Kiley and Ben Woods it was that you saw getting together just before we cut away out of the last corner. I can tell you they've had another coming together. So for the race as it progresses, it's not been clean sailing for a couple of drivers, and when 2 drivers come together twice in a row, I guarantee they'll be sitting in their sim rig shaking their heads, Pete.
Absolutely, and regardless of what race control rules on them, I think, yeah, if you want to start a grudge with someone on a league, have a crash with them on the first round of the season. If you want to make it a really good grudge, do it twice. Yeah, and I think Ben, Jono, and Chris Canello, and in this one, even Ricky the Ram Rocket Provenzali got involved as well. So, yeah, that's a bit of a lap 7 incident there. Those guys have just lost a bit of time. I don't think they've lost too much time. Maybe a little bit of time, but a lot of time left to go in the race, and they'll be able to get it back, particularly if there's a safety car.
Well, got an update for you on some of those incidents. One of the ones that we did actually manage to catch was Aaron Raccanello trying to go down the middle of multiple cars, and he made contact first with the car on the inside, then with the car on the outside, and then pivoted the car on the inside into the car on the outside. Race control, I've had a look at that and said, yep, that was not a hull. You should not have been trying to place a car down the middle down there, and Raccanello will have a tour of the pit lane to add to his lovely list of driving here tonight. It is actually quite a pretty pit lane down there, so at least he gets an extra circuit through it.
A pretty pit lane.
It's not as pretty as the circuit, but it is pretty. It's a lovely place. Okay, you've got to take in all the sights and sounds when you go over to Italy.
Oh, you're going to love it. I mean, the colours of the doors are the same as the debris flag, right? And that's pretty appropriate for a pit lane.
Well, change for the race lead. You just saw it live on your screen, and that was Adam Jepson getting down the inside. We talked about bringing your tyres in comfortably. Jepson's done that, moves to the race lead at the 15-minute mark for Adam Jepson. So he's set the afterburners alight. Now his response will be, can he get down the road, and can he keep this car pointing in the right direction? Because, Pete, is it time to talk about Porsche things?
Not at all. Look, top 5 in Porsches, and I'm going to back them all. These guys are going to be fine. They're not going to do Porsche things.
Pete,
JP's not going to talk tonight. And we're going to be all good.
I am talking. I've been battling all sorts of things in the background here as well. So, I am talking. Thank you very much. And wasn't it a Porsche that did it first? Wasn't Raccanelli? Oh, I'll give you that.
Raccanelli wasn't.
Ferrari. So I'll give you that one, Pete, on that one. But at the moment, hopefully everything's settled down now, guys, as well. Consistently hope it stays like this. So thank you very much for bearing with me while I'm in the background fighting fires here. But you have had the 2 beautiful voices.
Now, Jimmy, you and I both know that Pete's a little bit fresher to the commentary box than you and I.
Yeah.
And he's just gone ahead and he's just tried to apply reverse psychology. Can you kindly tell him that does not work to the commentator's curse?
No, it doesn't, unfortunately. And it's a commentator's coincidence, according to one of my other co-commentators I work with as well. Apparently it's a skill issue for the drivers. So, but there you go. But it's the great action up the front. We've got some great action in the middle in 17th as well with Gretchen Magri, both of them in the Porsches here as well, with the BMW of Glenn Arnott in front of them. Further down, Raccanelli is having a battle with is it Cornelio there as well. These two are going side by side currently at the moment as well. So yeah, great action all the way through, and you can see who's leading the Challenger and who's leading the Elite. And at the moment, it's Jepson and Cadet leading, and Foster, leading their classes.
Oh, it is Mark Foster. I'll tell you what, Pete, the lime milkshake machine's gone, and it's been replaced by a stark white Porsche.
Well, hang on. I think we might have a paint thing going on there.
Is he trying to bring the lime milkshake Porsche into it? Well, no, because I'm showing the same car, so I can back JP up here.
Thank you very much for that. I thought it was just me. But no.
I got him. No, I got him in a lime car on mine.
Oh.
Alrighty, I know some of the training paints have been slow to download this whole last week, right? But no, I got him in. It's the beautiful lime car. He's got to stop doing it because, like, I like to have a red wine on Sunday evenings, not lime milkshakes, right? And as soon as I see Fozzie's car, it's like, oh, I might go have my ice cream now. So
I need to find an old style milk bar that's still. You know what I think it is? Now this is the personal conspiracy that I'm going to have. I'm going to start for this season. Those of us who can see a lime milkshake Porsche must have a milk bar nearby with a lime milkshake available to them. So Pete, you clearly have, and Jimmy and I don't.
well, you just don't know where to look. You blokes are too young, see?
No, I've had lime. I'm telling you, Pete, I've had lime milkshakes. I do like a lime milkshake, so.
But no, yeah, so Fozzie's, he's got the lime paint on, so unfortunately it's coming up wide on the stream, but I can confirm for all the viewers, the lime milkshake machine is a Porsche, but yeah, not too happy with the black on top. I mean, I don't put black things on top of lime milkshakes. You know, he needs a white roof, I reckon, just to simulate a bit of cream or something, but you know, cream rises to the top, Fozzie, off you go. You know, bit of white, bit extra white there, and we'll go from that.
Yeah, and this is going to be a good one. I tell you what he does like in his race cars, because I've actually seen his most recent liveries before he's even driven them yet, JP. He likes a little bit of flames on his Indy car, is what Pete's into.
Nice.
Hey, none of that. I haven't released that yet. And by the way, look, we are talking about Fozzie is leading by quite a good margin in his class at the moment.
It's what, 5 spots, 5, 6 spots or so?
5 to 7 spots. Yeah.
He's got a 7-second gap, hasn't he, back to the guys behind him at the moment as far. So he's got a bit of time to be, you know, settling down, should we say. No real dramas. It looks like Rue Coistra had a little bit of drama himself. We will be able to hopefully have a quick look and see what Rue has been up to. And there he is.
So what, the front end of this Porsche looks destroyed. Yep.
This wonderful Porsche, of course, looking like it's... Oh, look at that, Pete. It's just done completely something on its own as it goes round there as well. So, Rue Coistra in the Porsche there with the back end spinning around as well. So, unfortunately for Rue Coistra, got a problem.
There hasn't been a Porsche do that while I've been talking about them, mate. It must be you.
Take credit if that was me there, Pete, but at the end of the day, you can't help it, mate. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I'm stuck in a commentary box with you two for the next, hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's going to be a long 90 minutes, boys.
And it looks like...
Rue, I got your back. We'll try and shut James up for a little while every time that you come on screen.
Well, you might have just done that already, as it looks like Ben Jeffrey and Daz Harburger are back as well. It seems to be, the flashing seems to be whenever there is contact. So I guess that's could be lots of things being sent through my CPU at that moment in time.
I'm going to say that's probably a good thing, because that tells us we've got something to look for, I'd say, at that point in time. It's nearly like the notification screen on your phone lighting up.
But there we go. Looks like Ben Jeffrey and Daz Harburger have had a coming together there as well. But Coniello and also Racanelli are also close together once more here.
So this will be an interesting one, given that Racanello's already been issued a penalty, which I believe he has. Yeah, he's actually already served that penalty. He got through now, and now Cornelio is going to make a huge mistake on the run into the second chicane. And now they'll turn through Casanova at the crest of the hill. Beautiful racetrack, by the way. I really don't think the GT4s did it justice with how much speed you can really carry through, and the GT3s do a phenomenal job. So JP, have you got any chance of getting us an onboard lap from someone here? Because there are so many unique elements to this circuit. Pushing wide, understeer, oversteer, it all happens around here. And our driver that's leading the race at this point in time is Adam Jepson. Pete, take us through a lap on board the Porsche, given that I know that you've done a couple testing laps in this thing.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. You just get the gears right up and just take a bit of a breather at this stage. You're looking for your braking marker just after the curb starts. Down the gears, a nice tight hairpin. You can either keep it tight or do a double apex, but really you've got to be early for this next left to come out and go about half track and then go through turn 4, and then again a little bit of acceleration zone. So you're up the gears now, up into about 5th maybe. No, just he held it on the limiter there, and that corner does sneak up on you. And again, another little chicane to come through. And this next corner, you look for this one, that little shelter on the left as your turning point. You can go over the curb quite a bit there, but you can get a slowdown if you go too far over the curb. And this is the corner. That corner there, just that left-hand sweeper, you can lose the rear end. So you just got to sort of hold onto the car, be really patient, lift and just drift around all of these right-handers, and then you come up. Another hard braking zone, downhill hard braking zone here. So you're going to drop down the gears, downhill hard braking zone. The screen's gone blank on me, Bill. Keep going around the corner. You then get another tight left with a little bit of a squirt, and then another downhill braking zone into a quite a big hairpin again. Come round. Here it is. We're in the last sort of big right-hand hairpin. Really important to come out of that early so that you can get good time. You can pretty much shortcut that chicane and go right through. And this is the last left-hander, nice and early on the brakes. And again, you can either do what he's doing here, which is come into the apex quite late, or you can just hug that corner and come around that corner quite fast. So there's a lap of Mugello, a really good lap, and a little bit of time to have a breather here. But I tell you what, those chicanes come up fast on you, and the turning points that are downhill are really tricky.
Well, I can tell you the lap time that we got on board with there for Adam Jepson was a 1:49.901. So, sorry, 9:21, my apologies. And in behind him, just right now, is Stuart Shaw's just on a 1:49.804. So things start to change, ladies and gentlemen. You saw it. Adam Jepson was on the surge early on. Now Stuart Shaw might actually be trying to do a little bit of fuel saving as he gets on board and gets right up to the back end of things. In the meantime, Leith McClimate has drifted out to 1.5 seconds in behind these guys, and he'll take Owen Coleman with him, and Richard Mare's sort of fallen away from the back end of these guys at the moment. I've got a lot. Go ahead, Pete.
Owen Coleman, he's been right on the back of Leith the whole race. He hasn't given him anything. I think Owen's just sitting there, classic champion type driving, right? No, maximum pressure, no stupid moves.
Well, in the meantime, Richard Mare, I've got an opportunity to talk to Richard a number of times of late. We've actually been doing some race controlling with him, I'll have you know, Pete, which is, I know you'll be interested to discuss at some point in time. But Richard, a while back, decided he was going to start his own business, and that business was Sudspeed, which is now servicing sim racing gloves. And he just said, yep, just saw a hole in the market, wanted to create something unique. And I can tell you, there are a lot of people already that are enjoying his gloves. So Richard Mare's your man if you're looking for a new pair of sim racing gloves. I might have to hit him up. I've been hitting up a few people about a burger sponsorship in Sydney when I'm there next week. I might have to hit Richard up for a pair of sim racing gloves as well.
So can we get him through Gamer Gear Direct, mate? Do you know?
I don't believe so at the moment. Yeah, we might have to start that conversation. There you go! Sim racing in action, like boys and girls. So, in the meantime, we settle down on in. We are 25 minutes in the book for this race at the moment. 25 minutes and 45 seconds or so. So, still kicking on. And for the meantime, Andrew Dutch has apparently just had something go wrong at the last corner as he's in the gravel trap at this point in time.
Yeah, he's just had a little bit of side-by-side, maybe a little bit of net car. I don't know, the race controllers have to have a close look at that, but it's just spun the car off into the sand trap. And play it through, I see. I don't think he hit the wall. No, he only just touched the wall. He did get a little bit of damage off the car, so he might lose a little bit of aero speed, but
straight in the lane.
About 4 or 5 speed. Yeah, he's come straight in the lane rather than get on the racetrack. So straight in, use that fast repair, and away he goes.
Well, whether or not he actually does use the fast repair is probably a point of contention. I'll have to go back and have a quick look, so I'll keep you guys up to date on that one. Yeah, I can see the damage in his right rear corner, so I'll be able to tell you in about 2 seconds. Yep, fast repair used. So he is now in the books. Should anything further happen for Andrew Dutch, it is going to be a very, very long night at the office to try and keep that thing out on track. In the meantime, cracking on our race leaders, and 45th place in terms of things at this point in time is Nick Bottrell. Is a very, very long way down the running order in his Audi. Not staying as glued as maybe he would have liked. He's already had a pit stop, by the way, on lap number 5, which would have been for some repairs at that point in time. He's only just in front of our race leaders at this point in time. The last time by, he dropped a second to them, so he's going to come back into their clutches in the next couple of laps. This time by, what's the difference going to be? Another second for Nick Bottrell. So starting to come back into the race leaders, and it's just not been his night early on in this piece here, Pete.
No, well, there's a couple of drivers that are big names that are in the back of the field that haven't had a good start. I could see Rue Coister's down in 36. Sean Bonici, who'd had a really good season last season, he's in 37th at the moment, so he hasn't had the start we expect. So Andrew Dutch has just had that incident. Ricky the Ram Raider, Provenzali, obviously he's had a couple of incidents already tonight, so he's down there as well. So a couple of big names from last year's season fighting their way, probably ruining the fact that there's so many extra drivers in the race tonight, because that's a lot more positions they've got to fight back. But mate, how good is it to see so many drivers in Premier Endurance League? What a success story.
Let alone looking at them all glued together. Is that the line milkshake machine that's just now come through for Jimmy? Because
yes, it has.
Okay.
It has come through there as well after multiple refreshes of the wonderful world of trading paints. It has come through. So there you go, Mark Foz in the lime green with the black. So there we go, great action there. Alex Kay also having a fight at the moment. He's got Hasberger behind him as well. So great little battles further down. This is for 10th and 11th in class here as well in the elite. So yeah, there we go. Great things going on at the moment. Still battling away. And a great little battle from Jacob Hughes right the way down here to Tom Williams. They're having a good old scrap as well with Foz in the middle. There's like 6 or 7 cars going at each other here as well. So yeah, action all the way through, and we've still got an hour and a half to go.
I was going to say there's a number, and generally the way it is, if you actually have a look at our leaders at this point in time, I don't know if you got able to get that track map back up for our viewers watching along at home, is sort of everyone inside the top 10 is now spread. The first car that is close to another car is actually 10th and 11th at this point in time, and that is actually going to be Alex Kay and Desmond Harberger. Are the 2 cars that are sort of the first 2 cars on the road that are somewhat near each other at this point in time. Jacob Hughes sits about 3 seconds in behind them, and then he sort of kicks off the next battle pack from 12th on back, which is all the way through to 18th. So there's a number of drivers sort of kicking in around each other, but Shaw's starting to respond to coming back just a little bit. And the problem being, ladies and gents watching along at home, Nick Bottrell's, unfortunately for him, if you're a Bottrell fan, unfortunately, going to be in the way next time by.
Yeah, next time by. I think we're about 3 or 4 laps away from our pit stop, Scotty, so not too far. And we'll see the leaders come in, and we'll see a couple of cars, probably from Chris Pellat and Andrew Dutch. They'll start making their way back up towards the leaderboard. So in about 3 more laps time, I think we might start seeing some pit stops happen.
And I can just see our favourite motorcycle mad lady has just joined the YouTube chat. That's Rue Coister's mum that's out there at this point in time. So good to touch base with her and her favourite Wanneroo racetrack over on the western side of the coast. In the meantime, boys, I can tell you, Jacob Hughes has just had a little bit of a mistake, and that means that Greg Brooks is starting to close down in on him. That's another battle that'll be quite interesting to keep an eye on. But in the meantime, things still kicking along. It's not too bad, boys. Not too bad, but I think there'll be a few drivers with their eyes on that first pit stop.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the question
going to be soon, I think.
There we go. We've got a couple have gone in just now. The question I've got is the likes of Stuart Shaw and that, are they being conservative? Are they fuel saving to try and reduce time in the pits and get a position? Because as I said earlier, it's quite a difficult track to overtake on. Even though it's a nice big wide Grand Prix style circuit, it's not easy to overtake here.
So another point, actually, I heard you already mentioned tonight's netcode, Pete. I know you were actually warning drivers, I think it was last week, in one of your race controlling duties about the high prevalence of netcode as of the very, very recent past. So is that something you'd be sitting down and saying to the drivers at the moment? Yeah, look, it's at the moment. iRacing goes through these phases where they do sort of one iteration, they do one tiny little change, it has unintended effects, and we're seeing one of these kick-on effects at the moment, so unfortunately the netcode.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we do get. I've seen it quite a little bit, and I saw it quite a bit today in the 12-hour that we were having a look at. And it just means that if you're being overtaken, or if you're going to put some pressure on a car, the closer you get to them, the more that you're at risk you are of having a netcode. And you could, for all intents and purposes, see two cars that are about half a foot from each other, but they have a contact, and what it does is it drags them together and locks them together, and that's when you kind of know it's netcode, right? Rather than a genuine sort of bump and the real dynamics of a car don't occur. And so I've seen a bit of it. I've seen a little bit tonight in the server. It's not too bad, but to be honest, you just got to give a little bit more width with every car if you're going to try and overtake it. Now, having that said, if you're overtaking a position and a car wants to really make it tight for you, that's going to happen, and that's when we get a bit of netcode. But that's part of the sim racing that we're in. I remember reading one time, it was about 18 months ago. I was reading about the early days of iRacing, and when it was quite a much smaller community than it was now. One of the common things that everybody sort of came to terms with after about sort of 12 to 24 months of iRacing was we've got to race full netcode. So we've got to give more space than what we otherwise would on a real racetrack because of the way computers work. Now that works when you've got a nice small community that all sort of gets on, but as we know, iRacing has grown to be this mega behemoth now, and everybody wants to race like in real life, so they do.
Yeah, Mark Foster just keeping an eye on Pitt on the last time by, has come back out at the moment, sitting right in underneath Benjamin Brooks' rear wing. And, well, that's high fuel versus low fuel. So he's going to have a lot of problems trying to get down the inside and get this pass done. He is for position at this point in time as he sends it on the way down into turn number one. We'll get the job done as I believe JP's having a little bit of... Yeah, that's the one right there as Fozzie gets the job done there on Benjamin Brooks. And high fuel versus low fuel. The next car on the track for him is going to be Sean Bonicci. And Daniel Magri is only about 1.8 seconds down the road as Magri goes through the front end of that shot right there. Magri is on effective fuel strategy, will be an effective full position car. And, well, he hasn't cost himself too much time in fighting through the traffic because it looks like he's a fraction closer to Dan Magri. So I'm enjoying this drive from him, Pete. And you know why I'm enjoying this drive? Because he's just such a lovely fella.
I mean, nice guys finish first, don't they?
Have you ever met a race car driver?
Don't let me talk too much about race car drivers. I might become one.
Well, I was commentating V8 Vets actually the other night, and the first thing that came to word was I saw one guy get out of the way, and that guy is actually running third in top split in terms of the overall championship standings. And he just pulls over and lets the car go. And I'm sitting there and going, come on, mate. I just want to... You're doing so well. You've had a breakout season. I just want to see some mongrel out of you because, then you got to have the mongrel to be a top-tier driver.
Yeah. But I did the same thing on the same night. And to be honest, it worked because it was not about track position at the time.
What split are you in, Pete?
I'm in split 3, mate. I'm slow.
And I'll be there to tell you about it next season.
Hopefully. Oh, golly gosh. Anyway, let's get back to the action. We're still looking at pretty good. Adam Jepson's still running the show out the front with Stuart Shaw. Neither of them have pitted yet, so I would expect that we're about to see the leaders come in for the pits on if they do this lap, or it'll be one more.
Do you reckon Owen Coleman's going to try and undercut it? If McClimate comes in, he'll go for it. He'll stay out. But if McClimate stays out, he's probably coming in. No, they're going to follow each other into the lane. In the meantime, straight by them was it was somebody else. It was one of the lap cars, so it actually wasn't relevant for position. But there are some cars that are continuing on. Richard Mayer and Nick Wood are going to be the first two among them, and I believe Ben Jeffrey's just about to shoot through as well. So you'll see a number of cars coming up the standings and going down the standings, ladies and gentlemen. Pit cycles for the first time this year have begun, and here we go, boys and girls. If you're down in that pit lane, she's about to get busy.
No, absolutely. And the good thing here is, Nick Wood and the guys that have gone through, well, they have been fuel saving, and it's a real game, right? Do you fuel save now, you get a couple of extra laps, which means you don't have to put as much in the tank for the last pit stop, so you gain time there. But do you lose more time than you gain when you fuel save? So, it's a real strategy act. Sometimes, it's better to fuel save because you're not necessarily racing the guys at the front. You're actually racing some dudes behind you. So, So, yeah, I wouldn't want to be a crew chief right now, I don't think.
Yeah, crew chiefing, not the easiest thing to be doing at this point in time. I did get a recognition from Share back, which is always good to see. In the meantime, race starts to settle back down on in, and for all that fuel that Owen Coleman might have gained underneath that pit lane time, he's stuck right underneath that rear wing of Jessee McMenamin yet again, and I think this is a battle that we'll be keeping an eye on for an extended period throughout tonight, because he's just sitting there. He hasn't been really able to make all that much out of it. Now they'll come up on lap traffic, which is going to be Greg McIntosh. McClimate's going to try and duck. He's trying to weave and trying to find that hole. That means a hole has been presented for Owen Coleman. The next problem he's got is how does he find that way around? Runs a little bit wide on the run down to turn number 8. Offline, loses a little bit of time. But now McClimate's going to run wide as he gets off of turn 9. This could present an opportunity. Down at turn 10, backs out of it. Now it's going to be down to McIntosh to try and get out of the way. Makes a mistake, runs wide. The 2 lead cars go through. They've lost a little bit of time to Jessee McMenamin, but not huge deal. And now the margin to the cars up ahead is about 3.5 seconds. So this is important. The longer these two go on bickering, the more the two out in front start to step away. And Owen Coleman is used to looking in his rearview mirror at the cars behind him bickering. This will be a little bit of a challenge, being behind, being on the back foot, and needing to do something about it.
Yeah, and I don't think Owen Coleman's by no means the fuel saving. He's genuinely trying to make that place up. So the way he's driving tells me that it's not conservative. He is really driving to put pressure on, as much pressure on Jessee as he can.
So in the meantime, we are now 40 minutes into this race, this lap, which means for you guys watching along, ladies and gentlemen, is 1/3 race distance. So for the guys who went that extra lap, Richard Mayer amongst them, they're sitting in a great spot. I tell you what, Nick Wood's sitting in a brilliant spot. He's gone that 1 extra lap. So in terms of fuel mileage, he might have cut a pit stop out of this one, and that might be the key factor. The big question will be, does he come out with another drafting partner? And that will be huge. And a race of 1 at the moment is Nick Wood. If he can get it to the end, he will have this by a country mile, and I mean a country mile, because it's 40 seconds as it stands back to the next car, and that would be your effective marker. They've got 2 stints to make up 40 seconds on Nick Wood. Now there will be some fuel saving required, which will lend them some time back in his direction. So Nick Wood's going to come to the lane this time which will clear that fuel margin there, Pete.
Yeah, no, that'll be good. And that pretty much purges the whole field, and everybody would have done their first pit stop.
So everyone starts to settle down on and in. And, well, they're doing okay for this point in time. I'm really curious to see where Nick Wood pops out at the tail end of things. So for the meantime, they start to settle back on down again. And one driver who's popped out in a little bit of space out in his zone is actually Richard Mayer. So he'll be in a land of 1 at this point in time, and he'll have some fuel to save, which might pop him out in a reasonable spot. Where does Nick Wood now rejoin? Comes to the end of the lane. We'll get fired up and rolling. It'll be behind Coleman and McClimate. I think Mayer is going to be right on him as they run down into turn number 1 this time by. You can see Wood rejoining in the background of this shot. Yeah, Richard Mayer's going to be about 2 seconds behind him. So the problem for Nick Wood is he's got to carry on fuel saving now if he's going to make this strategy work. Well, if he does make the strategy work, he'll be the only one on it, and he'll be in a blinding position. He'll have all of these covered by a huge, huge margin here, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yep.
So for the meantime, battles kicking on down in 9th place. I believe is Alex Kay still leading Desmond Harbinger from Daniel Magri started to close in on this one, which will be interesting. And it's going to be Ferrari, BMW, Porsche with the 3 cars running right there. Greg Brooks is the next car on track, about 2 seconds back, and then Mark Foster. And for Foster, he's committed to splitting this race into about 30-minute sort of segments. So he came a little bit earlier and than everyone else, and I think he's recognised that it is going to be a 3-stop race from where he sits. The next problem is, where are the other cars in class? Because Brock Kadai runs out of 21st at this point in time, and he pit a lap too early. So he can't make it at this current pace, and I think he's exceptionally short, which means he's not even in the picture. Isaac Norman sits just behind Kadai, and maybe Relevance, that's Ferrari that just shoots through the back end of that shot. He's just outside the window. The next car that's actually effectively on that fuel strategy is actually Ben Woods, who sits 24th. Greg Brooks is also on that strategy, but also in the elite class. So he's got an opportunity at the moment. Sits 23 seconds off the race lead. Now, if that drifts for the remainder of the stint, that's going to put him out probably around 5th in terms of things on this fuel strategy. But he's going to need some help to make that one work, running on his own at the moment, Pete.
Yeah, the one that stands out to me is Nick Wood. So, yeah, he 22 laps on that stint. He's the only one to go 22. Everybody else is 20 and 21. So, Nick Wood, I think, has an advantage, but he's 3 seconds behind Owen Coleman at the moment. So, whether that's enough to overcome or overlap Owen. I think time will tell, but to be honest, yeah, that the Fozzie pit stop is the one that's a little bit odd to me. That's sort of too early. Yeah,
he's committed to that 3-stop strategy, I think, Pete, because there's no way he makes it.
No, it seemed to be 5 minutes too early for me, but unless he's done something that we don't know about, because you can't clutch these things anymore, so.
It's just lift and coast, or it's throttle mapping.
Yeah, lift and coast and throttle mapping, just cruising. So, so that's the one that stands out to me. But I think you're right. I think he's committed to a 3rd stop. But Nick Wood's the one to keep an eye on, and carrying the number 1. Of course, Nick could have something up his sleeve, buddy.
Yeah, thinking man's race, this one, by the looks of things at this point in time. Well, we're going to have to... The only way that we'll find out is in about 40 minutes' time whether or not he's going to make it work. And I wonder what the scramble is going to look like after that, because it could be scramble of a big, big note. And for the drivers that have recognised... One of the benefits, though, Pete, of going on that strategy of going, well, it's going to be 30, 30, 30, 30 all the way to the end of the race is that... it's going to be at least tyres at the hour mark. And a GT3's tyres are definitely going to do 1 hour, 1 hour. They will be quite comfortable with that. It won't be too much of a stretch. As this battle between Kay and Harbinger continues to run on. Harbinger finally gets the nose fractionally ahead. Got the car pivoted in at turn 1. He's got enough drive, but Kay's still going to be alongside. Now he'll have to yield. It's taken Desmond Harbinger a long, long time after an early incident to fight his way back through and finally get past Alex Kay. But at the 45-minute mark, the job gets done. Now he's got to set those sights on the next car down the road. It's 5 seconds to Tyson Robb, and he's got a job to do.
Yeah, that was really good driving there, and I think just smart driving, not getting into too much trouble, losing one spot rather than losing 10 seconds or 20 seconds and 5 fenders. Guys are still in the race.
Where are you finding the extra fender? Did you just say 5 fenders, Pete?
Yeah. Sounds better than 4.
I'm quoting that and I'm sending that to our group endurance chat. Pete, thank you for that. You've created some entertainment for me this evening.
Oh, you could have something.
In the meantime, ladies and gents, they all continue to settle down on in. By the way, fastest race lap thus far, an interesting marker and a metric we like to refer to in the racing industry. Well, you'd think it would be somebody inside that top 10. I can tell you tonight, it does not go to any driver inside the top 10 thus far. It's Greg Brooks, who sits in the 230 Porsche, currently sitting in 12th place. And he is right at the back end of that battle pack. See that Porsche that just shoots through the back end of that battle pack? That is Greg Brooks at this point in time. And I tell you what, Fozzie is coming at him too. So Fozzie's got a little bit of pace. So in the meantime, Greg Brooks has just caught onto the toe and he's starting to make some ground on the cars up ahead of him. He's taken a second out of Desmond Harbinger on the previous lap, which is when the overtake was done between those two. So Harbinger finally sticks 0.4 of a second over Kay, but that toe is certainly helping Kay out a little bit down the front straight. It's then the twisty bits that he's really starting to struggle. So I wonder whether or not Kay's a little bit harsher on his tyres here, Pete, and he's burned them off, and we're in the second half. Well, he's only got about 13 or so minutes left, and he can come in for a fresh set.
Yeah, well, he's doing some quick laps too, and in fact, I've actually got Alex Kay as having the fastest lap with the 49.221. Nobody's in the 48s yet, and the next one is Stuart Shaw with a 49.229. So there's another one. Des Harbin 49.073, and
I've got a 49.011 for Greg Brooks. That's what I'm. Would you? 066. My word, they're tight.
Yeah,
extremely
they are
tight.
Very tight. Yeah. So this pack of elite challengers, this is race on.
Oh, here we go. This is going to change things. Glenn Arnott requests a tow. He's in the fence. He's in the barriers. Something's gone wrong for Glenn Arnott, and that is him parked up there. And we are shy of the marker, and there is a Porsche around, and I think it might have been John O'Kiley as well at this point in time. So we're going to get a replay to tell us the story of what's just happened here for Glenn Arnott. That's a hardware failure.
Yep, and we do have a safety car, Scotty. It's just been called.
And the leader's been told to come back for the safety car, which means that they're past the pit lane entry. And what that means is that everyone that's in behind them has got a freebie. Well, Stuart Shaw's cracking on because they've got to get through and they've got to push this lap as hard as they possibly can. It now comes down to it. Where is the safety car at this point in time? That's going to be probably one of the most critical calls of the race. It's sitting on the exit of turn 1, on the run to turn number 2. So the leaders have gone through. They will not be waiting for the safety car. And a safety car will be directing everyone to pass, and everyone will want to get past as quickly as they possibly can. It was about timing. It was about when it was available. There's a number of cars in the lane, Pete, and here comes the strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying to find a time to put the safety car out when the field had spread out so much is never an easy time. So, every now and then some cars do lose a bit of time, but hopefully it's not too much. But yeah, to be honest, they'll come in the pits lane, and then everybody will condense back up behind the safety car. So, what they might lose initially, they're going to catch back up anyway, and they'll be right behind whatever car was in front of them.
Well, we're going to get a moment here to isolate the field, catch the cars, reset the drama. And at this point in time, after a strong start, Stuart Shaw came back through and nabbed the race lead yet again. Adam Jepson led it for a significant portion in the middle right there. And they're not taking a pit stop here, Pete.
No, well, it's an awkward time. No, it's an awkward time for a pit stop, to be honest. It's because if you took a pit stop now, you have to do it. You can't get to the end, right? So it turns into a 3-stopper. So I think it's a smart move. It's an awkward time for a pit stop, and I think if you're mid-pack or below, you take it. But if you're the leader, it's a risky pit stop to take.
Well, I can tell you at this point in time as well, first and second place have not taken a pit stop. McClimate and Coleman also haven't. So we're going to be looking for who's the first cars. I thought it might have been Richard Mayer that I actually saw dive into the pit lane, but it's going to be a little bit further down. It's going to be massively further down. It's going to be an interesting one to sort of try and pick up who's actually our first car that's picked, because I'm not showing it at this point in time.
First car that pitted looks like it was Aaron Racanello.
So many A names. Yep.
Yeah, no, and that's in he's in P18 at the moment. So car 247 in P18, he's the first car that's pitted.
That would be why, because my timing's actually crashed. Because I was looking at him and he had outlap next to his name. And outlap on lap 21. My timing crashed about lap 21.
Alrighty, so yep. So it's Stu Shaw, Adam Jepson, Lethan Klein are our top 3. They're all none of them pitted. So we'll just run through them while they're slowing down, sorting the field out. P4 Owen Coleman, P5 Nick Wood, P6 Richard Mayer, P7 Ben Jeffrey, P8 Tyson Robbs, P9 Desmond Harbinger, P10 Alex Kay, P11 there's Fozzie in the green machine, P12 Tom Williams, P13 Adrian Gretsch. P14 Alfonso Latella. I haven't heard about Alfonso. He's been quiet tonight. P15 Martin Hallinan. P16 Isaac Norman. P17 Ben Woods. And then we got the first of our 2 stoppers. P18 Aaron Raccanello. P19 Trent 11. Second of our 2 stoppers is Greg Brooks. You've called him out a couple of times tonight and he was flying well. So he's the second pit stopper in P20. P21 Adam Lee Holland. P22 James Salini. P23 Daniel Magri has also done 2 pit stops, so he snuck in and got one done then. P24 is Kosh Kelly, P25 Jessee McMenamin, P26 Matty Norris, P27 Matthew Kidd, P28 Daniel Fritz, P29 Brock Cadai, a 2-stopper, P30 Robert Edwards, and then we'll get into the 2 stoppers now. P31 Ricky the Ram Raider Provenzali, P32 Chris Pellett, 33 Jacob Hughes, 34 Rue Koistra, 35 Jimmy Middleton, 36 Nick Boltrell, 37 Sean Bonici, 38 Benjamin Brook, 39 Greg McIntosh, 40 Brent Tucker, John O'Kiley in P43, Glenn Arnott in P42, and then we got Andrew Dutch P44, Darren Burgess P45, Chris Cornelio P46, Hugo Sutherland P47, Mal Powell P48, and at the rear of the field, I think he's out, Andrew Proctor P49.
Yeah, Andrew Proctor is out. I actually don't think he made the start. Anyway, all right, so we are settled down now, and the field starts to isolate itself, which means, Pete, that strategy. I reckon Raccanello's in with a shot here.
Absolutely, mate. That, like I did say, like it's not the perfect time for a safety
No, it's
car
not.
pit stop. But what he's done is he's essentially given himself, he can go now to the end of the race on tyres, and essentially has given himself the opportunity to do a pit stop at a critical lap with the least amount of fuel, and maybe that will put him up the field a little bit more. So I think it is a smart move for anybody who is about P10 and further down. But I think for the timing, I think the top 10 just had to stay out.
I'm gonna leave you here for a moment, Pete. There's somebody I actually really want to chat to in the middle of this race. I'm just going to go and see if he's actually available for us to chat to. I don't think he's got too much going on to this safety car, so I think we'll be okay. So just give me 2 moments.
While Scotty's out doing that, it's a nice time to call out Print Racer is sponsoring the safety car for the Gamer Gear Direct Premier Endurance League this season. Thanks to Print Racer for stepping up and sponsoring that bright yellow safety car. It's always good to have somebody back in the safety car and helping out. All of the leagues get around, so good on that. And thanks for Gamer Gear Direct for being our major sponsor for Premier Endurance League, and it's great to have you on board. For all your sim needs, go to the Gamer Gear Direct website, and I'm sure you'll find everything you need to know to set yourself up or find yourself an upgrade.
But more importantly, Pete, they are everything simulation. Golf sims, which I know you're like, yes, golf sim sponsor. It gets better, flight sim sponsor as well.
Yeah, I'm over golf.
Mate, in terms of things, I've managed to grab Leith McClimate here, driver the number 317. He is having an absolute cracking race. Leith, where has this speed come from? Because this is over and above outperforming where you were last season. You're looking quite comfortable behind the wheel of that Porsche at Mugello.
Thanks for that. I've just been practicing a bit, I guess, and more practice, more consistency.
Mate, in terms of things, she is quite a tricky track to sort of keep the thing rested on around. One of the features of that Porsche is obviously we talk about it all the time here is that rear end getting out of your way. It seems to be quite strong on those medium to high downforce style setups. It's the lower downforce where the Porsche tends to struggle, mate. How was the setup process getting everything aligned here for Mugello? Because there's no data to work from.
Most of the track's pretty good, except for the Arrabbiata. Gets a bit difficult through there. If you cook the rears on the entry down the first right-hander, she gets a bit sketchy to keep the speed up.
Mate, in terms of things,
making sure it goes through there well, that was the main thing.
In terms of things, it takes a team to work out this well. I mean, you're sitting in there with Stuart Shaw. Greg Brooks has actually got the fastest lap of the race. So when you get back in there, harass him about that. Tell him that we've been talking about him all night and he better not stuff it up because he's on camera. More importantly, mate, what's the team attitude like over there?
We're just all having fun and trying to move up as far as we can, apart from Stu, who's in P1 at the moment.
In terms of things, have you got anything to say to your biggest rivals, the Fart team? Go on, throw everything you possibly can at Jimmy over there.
Oh, Jimmy. Yeah, mate. Just move over a bit quicker, mate, okay? For the faster cars.
Unless their name's Ricky Provenzali, in which case block him as far as you possibly can.
Yeah, well, you don't want to block too far. I don't know if you've seen the Discord, but...
It's all Ricky's fault, that's all I know.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you very much for coming and chat to us. Pete, have you got any messages quickly for Leith? Anything you want to discuss?
Go hard, enjoy that. Jimmy won't move over for anybody. He told me that before the race, so just keep a note of that one. And Ricky will attempt to barge his way through despite how wide Jimmy's car is. So just let all your lads know that that's going to be the case, and we'll put Ricky back into jail, I think, later on.
I think the protest room is going to be filled with protests for Ricky Provenzali tonight. He may not have done anything wrong, and there'll still be a room full of them. All right, thanks very much for your time here, Leith. Have a cracking race, mate.
Have fun. Bye.
Well, I thought that'd be a little bit of fun because he's driving out of his skin. He looks the improvement from Leith. I am really, really impressed with, and like you said, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes there, Pete.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to hear him say he's just done a whole lot of laps to get extra speed, that just tells you how committed some of these drivers are to this series. Because I've got to tell you, when I jumped in the GT4 and ran last Sunday, I think it was. Oh, I can't remember. I don't want to remember. But it's really interesting. Like, if you don't spend a lot of time in these cars, because the series it always picks tracks where iRacing doesn't have a lot of data, and so you've got to get on top of your setup. You can't sort of buy one, you can't find one, you got to find one, and the guys that are really committed, they're the ones that are successful in the series. So and you can see that sort of group of people, they're always in the practice servers, they're always setting times, they're always doing their setups, and they're the ones that are at the front, and it's the same sort of group of 4 or 5. But obviously we've got Stu Shaw, a couple of new names there in the top 10 tonight with Tyson Robbs and Desmond Harburger. So it's good to see the new names up there as well.
Yeah, I can tell you we are about to go back to green flag racing at this point in time, and I tell you what, there's some checkups up and down the field right now as they're all trying to get themselves sorted. How good is Shaw's first race out? Leith is a legend. That's the most important one to see. Stuart Shaw's going to lead the field back to green flag racing, and it hasn't taken all that long because he got out to a lead as soon as he possibly went. And right now it's going to be Leith McMenamin and Adam Jepson that have got a job to do to try and go hunting him back down. Nick Wood is sitting up, and he's in 5th spot. And I tell you what, he's just about bump drafting Owen Coleman the whole way down the start-finish straight. He's so attached to the rear end of that car. Keep your eyes on the BMW. Look in behind him. It's nearly 3 wide on the run down to turn number 1. Mayer gets assaulted by Ben Jeffrey and Tyson Robb. And I'm really interesting to see what Alex Kay's got for Desmond Harbinger, who goes around the outside at turn number 1, manages to come away with that spot. There's fighting, there's squabbling for it. Safety cars breed opportunity. And when a sim racing driver senses an opportunity, he senses vulnerability. And there's always going to be a car wet down the inside as far as he's concerned.
So Scotty, safety cars breed safety cars, and that's the kind of thing that we're going to see, because it's an opportunity to get up close and personal to that other car that you've been fighting, and maybe you'll get a little bit of a sniff because it adds that pressure because everybody's so close together. But we're over the hour mark now. We've got 53 minutes to run. So 58 minutes left to run in this race. So, if anybody put tyres on in that stop, then they can just go 30-30 with fuel, and away they go. But safety cars breed safety cars.
Mate, I'm really curious here. That safety car might have just run long enough. I still think Nick Wood might be the only car that's eligible to make it home on one stop. I think we're going to have to see some fuel saving to get home from as far as we are. For the guys that had committed and come in for that strategy, Racanello, that's the guy we sort of need to keep half an eye on in the back of our minds, because remember, he'll be on cold tyres. He's going toe-to-toe with Trent Allen deep in the pack at this point in time as they make their way around Corintaio. Deeper in the pack. And Greg Brooks has slid a number of spots further down as well. So Greg Brooks is one of the takers of that pit stop. And here comes Greg Brooks, by the way. He's going to park it on the inside down underneath Racanello. And Brooks comes away with the spot. I wonder whether or not he hasn't taken fresh tyres. I think there might be old tyres on this Greg Brooks Porsche. And Racanello's got some straight line speed, and he's out to Racanella fellow is the way that he's driving down this main straight. Gets the Ferrari wound up. They're going to be side by side as they crest the hill. Squeezes to the left-hand side. Greg Brooks trying to hang on to it with both hands wrapped around that wheel. There'll be a vice grip as it stands. Racanello around the outside. I get the feeling, Pete, Racanello's on cold tyres because he is struggling to get that car back underneath him.
See, some cold, brand new green tyres too. So, remember I said a lap and a half, 2 laps to get them up to speed. And anybody who didn't go in the pits, they're on the worn tyres. That they keep quite a bit of heat in them under the safety car. So they've just got a little bit of an advantage right now. And maybe Aaron's just paying a little bit of price for not doing enough green tyre testing. But I'll tell you what, Scotty, I think every car still has 1 pit stop to go from now. There's nobody can make it home. Nick Wood has the advantage though after that pit stop because he will have, I think, he's got the least time of fuel. He's so far ahead with Racanello and Brooks so far behind them. So the safety car will have cost the guys up front a little bit of time, but if they've got probably another 15 or so 20 minutes to go until that second pit stop time kicks in, and in that 15 or 20 minutes what they've got to do is they've actually got to extract themselves the 10 or 15 second gap that they need to cover Racanello and who was out, Greg Brooks, and Dan Magri. Remember Dan Magri? He's done this a number of times. He's just those safety car pit stops and fuel saving, and he comes from nowhere. So don't forget Dan Magri. He's another one we need to keep an eye on.
Wasn't he 2 weeks ago on the GT4s that ran a phenomenal race, by the way? Mal Powell, who is another sim racer that gets around and does a fair bit in terms of things. Powell is in the pit lane at this point in time. Mechanical black flag, unfortunately, for Mal Powell. And I don't know whether or not a fast repair has been checked for that car. So I think his sim racing efforts for this evening are about to come to a close. So that will basically mean he is out of things as it currently stands. And I tell you what, there's support for Greg Brooks now. He set the fastest lap of the race a little bit earlier on in the piece, and well, it's been bested. I'll tell you what, Pete, we've got our first lap into the 48s. It's going to be Adam Jepson who sets that up right up at the front end of town. 48.985 gets in there by 15 thousandths of a second, and it was only another 11 thousandths of a second from there back to the lap time set by Greg Brooks earlier in the piece. So in terms of things, they're only a bit over a tenth of a second off of the fastest lap times from qualifying. Actually, it was more about 7/10 of a second, my apologies, off of the fastest laps in terms of qualifying. So a little bit of room there, but they're starting to really improve in terms of things. There's some pace coming out, and there's some battling that's going on in this point in time, and it's just up ahead of Racanello and Greg Brooks at this point in time. Ben Woods, Isaac Norman, Trent Allen are 3 drivers crawling all over each other, squabbling as it currently stands, as does the Hummus car of Desmond Harberger, who's made his way back inside the top 10, and he had an off earlier on in the piece. Well, now he's on the recovery drive, and it's working well for him.
Some news coming in. We've got a couple of drivers who passed some cars before the start line on that safety car restart. So that's Tyson Robbs, currently in P8, car number 90. He's got a 5-second penalty. And we've got Martin Hallinan, car P15, car number 28. He's also got a 5-second penalty. So those guys got in front of other cars just before the start-finish line.
Allowed to overlap?
Restart. Allowed to overlap, but you're not allowed to overtake.
Yeah, that's the key factor that's a part of that one at this point in time, as we're looking at the 12 car, who is Isaac Norman. Trent Allen's going to go to his outside, and Norman just says, yep, that one's happening. I'm actually not fighting for him. He's in the other class, so I'm going to just pull on out of that one, which is using your head. The problem for him at the moment is Racanello is only 2 spots behind him with a little bit of extra fuel on board, which means that in terms of things, he's going to be out of sequence here. There'll be a job to do for a number of drivers up and down the field at this point. This point in time. And the drivers that went for that 30-30 strategy are now in a little bit of the hole. And guess what? Poster boy for the Lime Milkshake, Mark Foster, was one of those. So Pete, what's he going to do here?
To pit on that safety car.
Well, he's missed that.
Yeah, he's missed that. He's missed that opportunity, and that's going to cost him big time, because it's going to cost him way too much time. So if you're going to do that middle stint sort of pit stop, you had to use the safety car. No doubt about it. Otherwise, that's a massive strategic error from my part.
Or were you his strategy guide? Did you just say from my part? Are you advising him?
From my assessment, that's a strategy error on his. Sorry.
Yes, that one's gone straight over the head, Pete. Thanks for that. See, I get to harass you occasionally. You've just done that back to me, mate. Thank you very much.
It's all right.
In terms of things in the meantime, though, time to settle it back down and in, for sure. He's trying to show that clean pair of heels, and Owen Coleman's finally found a turn of speed by the way as well in the last lap or so. He's found his way past Jessee McMenamin. So we're talking to Leith sitting pretty in P3 just previously. Well, now Owen Coleman's starting to show a turn of speed. He might have been in conservation mode this entire time, but at the moment, on the run down into turn number 1, he is starting to catch in onto these leaders, and he's going to apply some pressure now to the rear bumper of Adam Jepson. So the race comes alive. One of the benefits of a safety car is, well, safety cars breed safety cars, as they say in the business, but you know what it does breed? It does breed awesome racing. And there is going to be some competition for this one. Richard Mayer's got an issue. I think he's parked off the circuit at this point in time, is he?
Yeah, no, he just went off the circuit. He's come back on, so let's have a look at that. Oh, no, he's had a little bit of contact with the 150 car, and that's coming out of the first chicane after the first turn. Just a little bit of side-to-side contact as they enter the corner, and it's just put the Porsche into the Porsche doing Porsche things category, and he's sort of come to a stop. He's done the right thing. He's just sat on the track and had to wait for a whole lot of cars to go past. So lost a lot of positions, not too much damage other than that.
Well, in the meantime, settles himself a little bit deeper in the pack and not going his way. But I tell you what, isn't that a beautiful shot as we look into the Italian countryside? Way back up over the mountains. She's a very, very pretty section of the world, is Mugello. She was home of Ferrari testing for a number of years as well. I loved coming around to a number of tracks. There was Fiorano as well, but any circuit in Italy was always on the Ferrari testing squad's purview. As much testing time as they possibly can. It's good to see it actually on iRacing. It's a circuit that's dominated other competing sims for a number of years and been very, very popular. And now it's made its way onto iRacing as well. And Owen Coleman's doing a beautiful job of showing the pressure that you can apply around here, but at the same time, I think he's suffering from some of that dirty air at the moment, Pete. He's a little bit of understeer through the fast stuff as the dirty air feeding off Jepson and Stuart Shaw in front of him, certainly showing its effect.
What you can get in the GT3s, if you do get right under, it will upset the aero balance, particularly through the fast cars. So, yeah, they need those aerodynamics to really get the grip that the drivers get used to in practice. And you know, the really good teams, this is where good teams pay off, right? The really good teams will practice that. They will get their drivers, you know, line of stern on the track, driving as fast as they can, as close as they can, and practice that so that they can understand it. You know, if you're just in a team just to drive's sake, then you might not necessarily get that chance to really practice that. So, then it's easy to feel, but only if you know what you're looking for. The other thing I've been keeping my eye on, Scotty, is I've been keeping my eye on the race between Greg Brooks, Daniel Magri and Aaron Racconello. Greg Brooks and Daniel Magri have both moved past Aaron Racconello now, so Aaron's dropped down for 3 spots since that safety car restart, but Brooksy's made an extra spot on Isaac Norman, so I think that's still the race to watch at the moment until we get through the pit cycles.
Well, I mean, both sections of cars are going to have to do the same number of spots. So the really only driver that we're sort of looking at is those drivers that pitted on the 30-minute mark. And like we said, we've obviously highlighted Fozzie quite a bit. But in terms of things, it's going to be a similar pit stop for just about everyone else. Now, the pit stop before that safety car can be about 15-20 minutes beforehand, which means it's effectively, I reckon it's going to be, in the realm of 10 to 13 seconds that they're going to be back off the leader. And guess what the margin is between Greg Brooks at this point in time and our race leader? It is exactly 13 seconds. So if he can stay right where he is, he's going to pop out right on top of our race leaders after that final stop.
That's right. And that's why I thought if you're mid-pack or below, that's a really good time to safety. Safety. It was just a brilliantly timed safety car for the race because it's now put us into 2 races effectively. We've got the 2 stoppers and the 1 stoppers so far, which will be 3 and 2 respectively. But it's mixed the race up. It's given everybody a chance to do a different strategy, get a little bit out of the sink, and then maybe make some spot to the end.
I think the interesting debate here is actually Nick Wood as well, because, well, he saved all of his gas early on. So we know that he was going to make it in terms of that 2-stop strategy. Now, he doesn't have to fuel save anywhere near as hard, Pete. He still wants to go late, which means that his fuel saving in his final stint will be minimal, if at all. But at this point in time, he's effectively been released, which adds a whole new dynamic to the race. In the meantime, Owen Coleman, by the way, has charged on through. So not just happy to settle into 3rd place, he's gone ahead. He's nicked P2 off of Adam Jepson, and it's actually on our current lap. So it'll be interesting to have a look back if we can and see where this one has changed places. But for the meantime, Owen Coleman, your championship winner for the GT4s last season, not happy to sit in 2nd place in terms of the championship for Season 2 2023. He's now up there, and I tell you what, Leith McClimate's going to have a go at Jepson as well. So Jepson's in trouble, and Jepson's going to go up a whack for his trouble. Here's the change of positions, and this was it on the run down to turn number 1. Got alongside of him, did Coleman. Made a little bit of a touch, so Jepson struggling for some understeer, but Coleman got alongside of him on the run down into turn number 2, got the job done, and McClimate sensed that there was an offering. I could tell you that on the current lap, when we go back to live pictures at this point in time as well, McClimate and Jepson are the next 2 to come to blows, and no battle damage for either Porsche at this point in time, but Jepson is ailing on those tyres, Pete, and he is in trouble.
Good job from Coleman to hang around the outside and come out of that corner faster and just hold there enough so he actually had the right track position to take the position. Yeah, really good driving. But if Coleman's able to do that on the outside, then either Jepson's in trouble for tyres or Coleman has got something that he hasn't shown us yet and he's now just unleashing.
I'll tell you what, he's taken 0.3 of a second out of Stuart Shaw already in the 1st sector. It's another 0.3 of a second in the middle sector. So he's eaten 0.6 of a second, more than half a second in 2/3 of a lap. There's a final sector to come. And this is where Owen Coleman's car has been weak. It requires a little bit more downforce. Does the fastest section out here? Actually, it might require a fraction less downforce. And he's got that thing set up for all the twisty bits. So this is going to be the key. Does he get good drive off? How much time does he make when we get back to the flag? If he can break into this less than 1 second marker to Stuart Shaw up ahead, all of a sudden the drivers all driving together with Leith McClimate behind the wheel and co is going to be a big thing.
Latest news, car number 150, so that's Ben Jeffrey in P6, has received a 5-second penalty. That's that contact with Richard Mayer earlier, car number 948. So 5 seconds to be added to Ben Jeffrey's time. To be honest, it's probably not that big a penalty, but yeah, that time will get added to his post race. So something to keep in mind there.
Well, I believe there was something else that was just called through to race control as well. So 0.4 of a second it was last time by, but the problem was Stuart Shaw ran a 49.995, nearly ran a 1 minute 50. And what that means, ladies and gents, is that was a mistake on that lap. So he's recovered immediately this lap, and we'll get some sector times as they come to. Pulled down another 1/10 of a second in the 1st sector. Might have said that Coleman was now starting to suffer now that he's got free. The middle sector is going to be very, very telling. And I tell you what, he looks good under brakes, this Owen Coleman. He's starting to close up at a few little bits and pieces. We'll keep our eyes a little bit further back off this battle pack as well, because Jepson's still trying to go with. Leith McClimate now starting to struggle. He's fallen back a little bit from Adam Jepson. So McClimate's made a mistake now in that top 5. And I tell you what, there are battle packs everywhere you look at this point in time. 8th is Tom Williams inside the top 10 at this point in time. He's got multiple cars coming at him. Desmond Harbinger is now chasing down Mark Foster. Tell you what, he's in a 10th spot, it's Harbinger. He's doing a cracking job here, Pete.
He's using that hummus that you were thinking about.
Oh, mate, I tell you what.
Hey, that great super hummus. And maybe it's got him, had a little bit. It's now starting to kick in for the back end of the race. But I've got bad news for Cher.
Oh, no.
It's bad news for Cher, our supportive mother over here. But Rue Cloister's had an incident with Maddie Norris on lap 38, which has put Rue down a number of times. Race Control having a look at that now. So unfortunately, Rue's having a bit of a shocker tonight. The pink and white FRG Porsche is just running into trouble.
And I tell you what, Pete, we were talking about the guy that was in strategy trouble. Guess what? He's just pit. And he is 3 minutes shy of hitting the required marker to make it home. That's how short he's going to be in terms of fuel. He's got to add about 3.5 minutes worth of fuel to get home tonight, ladies and gents, for Mark Foster. And we'll have to keep half an eye on where he comes back out. That final stop is at least going to be short. But at the moment, he's down about 40th, Pete. Oh, he was on for a class win.
Not over yet, mate. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about with Rue Cloister, and it's just lost about sort of 10 or 15 seconds a number of spots. That's been called in, so Race Control are going to have a look at that. We don't know what the outcome is of that at this stage, but unfortunately for Rue, that's just put him back in the field again, and he's going to have to fight back. So not a good night for Rue, not one that he's normally used to having in the Premier Endurance League. Normally he's fighting a lot stronger than that.
And update on Racanello as well. Looking at a bunch of the Challenger drivers at this point in time. So Racanello does lead the class as it currently stands. Isaac Norman's in behind him, and actually Adam Lee Holland. It's good to see Adam Lee Holland. Good fond memories of racing Adam in a number of different series, so good to see him. Sits in third place as it currently stands. Aaron Racanello, the best of those three in terms of strategy, sits in a great little spot. So we're keeping half an eye on Racanello. But in the meantime, a little bit of fan support coming the way of Greg Brooks. Time for a little bit of a checking in with him. Tom Williams now comes to the lane. He's going to be about a minute short, Pete, which means effectively you can stick a line through him finishing inside the top 10, unless out of nowhere he pulls out a 41-minute stint. But we're closing in on that 40 minutes to go marker, which means 2/3 of the race distance complete, and the fuel starting to get checked off.
42 minutes is doable, right? So 42 minutes is doable. I think Fozzie's okay to the end, but he has to save some fuel. And just to answer Cher, yes, Rue is a birthday boy, so having a shocking birthday.
Oh, boy.
Night, but yes, he is still racing. He is currently running P35 and fighting back.
Well, somebody might have to tell all the drivers in the server that it is his birthday, because I think they'll all have an excuse for now giving him a little bit of a kiss on the behind, because he's gotten a few touch-ups tonight, but I think all the drivers will be sitting there saying, yeah, it's his birthday. We were just giving him birthday presents.
Just giving him a touch-up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good old race car kiss and a cuddle.
Must be your birthday every weekend then, Pete. Oh, boy. In terms of things, Leith McClimate's starting to now sink like a rock as his Porsche starts to become a little bit more antsy. At the end of this second stint, you get the feeling he'll be taking tyres to that final stop. And in the meantime, Nick Wood, like we're talking about, once you tick those fuel boxes, the wicket gets turned up a little bit. He's going to crack on. And now it becomes a waiting game. Who is going to be the first of our top 7 drivers to blink? Tyson Robb starting to bite at the back of this argument. And I tell you what, it is Tyson Robb who's going to be the first one to blink. He will be the next driver into our pit lane.
All of the cars have got a little bit of reprieve from that safety car, so they're all able to go just a little bit further now. So maybe we're well and truly inside the window to the end of the race. So every pit stop now is a pit stop to the end, unless somebody has a crash. So we see how they come out, and then it's race on without a safety car.
We've got to keep half an eye on where these guys in the Challenger battle continue to pop out, because I think that's actually going to be quite relevant as the season goes on. It's a good opportunity tonight for them to put away a bank of points. I'm just wondering, we haven't checked in with our fellow British resident who's been enjoying fighting off computer-based gremlins this evening. JP, you feeling a little bit better? You feeling a little bit more glued together at this point in time?
Yeah, I think so. I think everything's kind of settled down a little bit after me doing multiple tweaks of things in the background. But I'm hoping it's kind of settled down a little bit. But there's been some great action taking place here. And I think that's the thing at the moment. We have got multiple battles throughout the whole race and throughout the field. So it's really tough at the moment to have a good old focus on. So we're going to try and stay with Leif McClyman and Nick Wood, as McClyman is trying to look down the inside currently as well of turn 12 before he goes on through to 13 and 14. But yeah, some great action. I'm still keeping an eye on Rue as well, as you say, currently at the moment. He's had a bit of a rough one, as poor old Rue, but he is in 31st place here as well. And Alfonso Latella is battling away with Racanello and Magri. However, that was a
here we go.
off track from Racanello there.
By the way, pit lane window open, pit lane window taken. For a number of these drivers, they have yet to take their tyres for tonight, and it's starting to show. And that means that pit lane is going to be accessible this lap to get them all home. And have a look at the activity. There is only one driver from our top 7 that managed to stay out. That was Nick Wood. I think we all sort of took one look at that and kind of expected it. Well, he's kicked on. And it's now going to be Ben Woods, Greg Brooks with the next couple through, which means Woods is on that same sort of run a little bit longer strategy, is teamed up, runs on the same team as Nick Woods, so they would have been keyed into the strategy very, very early on, Pete. But then it becomes our drivers who have taken a pit stop out of the safety car. This is an opportunity for them, and now they're really going to make hay whilst the sun shines. Their cars are nice and light, and that means it's time to set fastest laps of the race.
Absolutely. The worst thing they can do is actually hold each other up and fight. What they really need to do, because they still need to do another pit stop, what they need to do is just make the most of the clear track without people in front of them. And ultimately, it's a time when they should work together. But, 2 different race car drivers, 2 different race car makes, 2 different race car teams, they won't work together, mate. They're going to fight each other to try and be in front for the broadcast, because obviously it's better to be Greg Brooks than Daniel Magri right now, to be in front of the broadcast. But to be honest, they just need to work together and make the most of this, because essentially I don't think they're in the fight against Nick Wood and Ben Woods. I think they're still in the fight for a little bit further down the field, but this is undercut territory for them.
I tell you what, JP, I'm going to need you to get a close-up shot of the rear bumper of Jimmy Middleton's car. He's done it again. I saw
it last time as well. This is in conjunction with...
No, there's a new one.
Yeah, he did it to me the other day. He said to me, he goes, keep an eye on my car. I said, all right, I will do. So we'll try and figure out that it's Andrew Dutch behind him. But on the back end of Jimmy Middleton's, basically for the podcast that I do on a Monday as well, where we cover multiple conspiracy theories. Last week was the Mandela effect. And that was an interesting one. But if you can catch it, if I can just get close enough there as well to what Jimmy's...
Come on, Dutchy, work with us.
Come on. Just need you to get a little bit closer. Otherwise, I'll have to do it in the old-fashioned way and put it on a chase cam, which I really don't like doing because they're not nice cameras. But it's at least put. Do you remember me winning this race, JP? Hashtag Mandela effect. So there you go.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, Jimmy's won many races. Yeah,
right. Yes. He might have won a food eating contest, but I don't remember him winning an iRacing race. I can tell you that much. So,
mate, it never said which race, okay? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is true, I suppose, from him. But yeah, he did do it again, and he'll probably do it after Monday's one as well, as we venture into the wonderful world of the space landing. But that should be an interesting one.
Oh, you've got my interest. You've absolutely got... I do enjoy... Now, ultimately, I sit very much on one side of the fence, and that's fine. But I think one of the big things is that people, when they go into conspiracy theories, it's not about saying which theory is correct. It's actually about the journey. You've got to unravel all of the different elements of it. And if expertism is done correctly, we should all arrive at the same result. And that in and of itself is also a debate for another podcast.
Yeah, we do finish at the same result, mate. It's the guy, me and Craig, who I do it with, we sit there and go, we're not scientists, we don't really care, we just wanted to have a yarn about it. So there we go, that's the final result on that one. But let's get back to the racing. Chris Pellett and Jacob Hughes. We'll have this chat off live here, Scotty, as well. But we do have some racing taking place.
Hey, it's entertaining, okay? I just wanted to drum up a little bit of support from our listeners.
But I don't want Ricky giving me grief that we haven't talked about racing. You know what it's like. Let's get back at it.
We've talked about... Ricky, when you're listening back to this one, I want you to send me a message, Ricky. We've talked about racing... Okay, we'll talk about racing for another 5 minutes and then we've got time for the podcast because that's 90 minutes effectively. I think you'll be happy for that.
Yeah, maybe. As we've got Pallett and Hughes going at each other here as well. Pete's in the background shaking his head going, these young kids in the booth. Hey, what am I doing?
I'm wondering where Scotty got an education from.
It was out of the Coca-Cola.
We did conspiracy.
Where did those words and critical thinking come from?
We did conspiracy theories was a module we did in high school, and it was actually really, really important to uncover things because it built critical thinking skills.
JP, have we got the same Scotty that we started with?
No, mate, probably not.
Aliens are real, and they're sitting in this race car, which has got Nick Wood behind the wheel. Nick Wood, an alien confirmed.
He's taken over, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's been abducted already. But I'm sure that would be another episode for a podcast as well. Alien abduction, is it real or not? Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, show up to your local alien abduction center today, and you even get a free T-shirt. So,
yeah, you get free
all hail
free
space
ticket,
overlords.
the free ticket off to space. There as well. Oh, dearie me.
Alrighty.
Oh,
Go on, ladies and gents, if you're watching along at home, what's your favourite conspiracy theory? Is it Jimmy Middleton winning a race? We want to know. And I'll tell you what, Nick Wood is going to dive into the pit lane. So all this talk of aliens has talked our way into pit stop cycles. Time to separate the men from the boys from the aliens. And at the moment, Nick Wood leads the way in converted fuel stop strategy. We're about to find out who actually leads this one. Greg Brooks, ladies and gents, is about to lead his first ever lap of the race, crosses the start-finish line, takes P1 before the line. Greg Brooks, your new race leader, that is going to put a smile on his face. Because like we said earlier on in the piece, had the fastest lap of the race, that's been nicked. But for this point in time, Daniel Magri's now got some work to do if he can chase him. And I tell you what, guess who's sitting in the background, boys? It's Ricky Provenzali. Amazing what he can do when he's not locked behind a semi-trailer with the name Jimmy Middleton behind the wheel.
I think Nick Wood's about to come out into traffic too, so that'll be interesting. He's going to find himself not quite as first. Stuart Shaw has given him a flogging, actually. Stuart Shaw, I've got Stuart as the effective leader after this final round of pit stops, and he's now 10 seconds. No, not 10.
He is short field. He's short field. There's no way.
On the run.
So I've got a problem with this, boys and girls, watching along at home. Stuart Shaw's added about 5 seconds less worth of fuel.
What, are you sure about that?
He is. He's Stuart Shaw.
That's a big call. If Stuart Shaw's got his fuel right, he's done a hell of a good drive there and made the most of that pit stop. But yeah, no, it's a big gap to come out, given that Nick really only had 2 extra laps out. I think 2 or 3 extra
Nick's
laps
added more fuel than him, and Nick went the extra lap. That's my question. I reckon Shaw's short. Can I get he's short on fuel in the YouTube chat, please? I'll enjoy that one. I'll post that.
I picked up on that and I just ignored it. I thought, no, it's too early on a Sunday morning for me to be comprehending this one. You know what I mean?
I can't be sure that Stuart Shaw is short.
No, I can't be sure to be sure either. But his pit lane time was 52.50, mind you, and everybody else has been around. If you take in Owen Coleman, he was on a 52. Owen Coleman as well. Owen Coleman's last pit lane time was 48.8, mind you, but he was in the pit
so my numbers are wrong.
4 seconds longer. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it anyway, as it all seems that everybody's coming into the pits now as well. Magri's in, Pallett's in, Brooks is in, Coleman's gone through, Shaw's gone through, Wood's gone through, Tucker and Jepson, McClyman and Jeffrey are now climbing through as well. So yeah, it's going to be unraveling the strategies here once more, as Brad Tucker is also through, and Nick Bottrell is up 26 places and leading the Challenger class at the moment.
And Scotty, looking at the pit timings, Stuart Shaw's stationary time was 21.9 seconds. Nick Woods was 22.9 seconds. So it's only 1 second difference in stationary time. That's not a lot of fuel. So I don't think that's...
But he was a lap extra short.
That's not the kind of fuel that you were talking about in terms of the gap that is made. I actually think Stuart Shaw has driven the wheels off this thing after that pit stop, and he's actually done a bit of an undercut on Nick Wood.
There's no way. There's absolutely... So the problem I have with it is there's no way that he is made... You said that Nick Wood's, 1 second shorter through the lane than he is?
No, Stuart Shaw was 1 second shorter.
Well, that's still a second shorter on a guy that's gone a lap longer than him on fuel, is my problem with that.
Yeah,
And if everyone came to the pit lane on the same lap, which tells me that they were all out. If we saw a scattering, and we saw one car in, then one car in, then one car in, we could say that they're all trying to undercut each other. They're all trying to get some fresh air and see if they can do it. But because they all came on the same lap, they were out.
Time will tell, won't it? Time will tell.
So that's the key. For those of you watching along at home, if you ever see a split pit strategy like that, that's undercut attempts. If you ever see them all come in on the same lap, that's tyres are very, very relevant, and they're going off, and we know they're going off, or short. And where this one sits, it's fuel strategy. V8 supercars, you'll absolutely see that spread because there's a difference in tyre fall off there. That's where it is. So when you're commentating, if any of you decide to get in commentating, and Pete, Jimmy, and I all sit here and tell you, hey, yeah, absolutely do it. Number two, we'll tell you, get into race control first. That'll add another string to your bow. Yeah, that's one of the things that we look for as commentators is when do people come in and who comes in all together. That tells you a lot about the strategy.
Yeah, commentating is the most fun you can have when not driving the sim. I can't say the same for race control.
No, I don't like race control. I've got to be honest, race control drives me crazy. I'd rather sit here and just chat with people and talk about them going around the circuit, because race control, it just gets messy and no, don't do that as well. However, I have found myself in a steward's room, but that could be for a completely different reason other than my driving. So, you know, I try and stay out as much as I can, but I do end up there. Solani, Harbinger, Woods and Magri are battling out here as well, guys. So, yeah, great action taking place.
This is going to be an absolute cracker at this point in time. I'm really keen to see where has our boy Greg Brooks come back out. It's in P19.
Yeah, he's dropped down. In fact, he's behind Aaron Pacanello.
Has he filled that car back up again? I think he's taken a lot of extra fuel.
I tell you what, because Dan Magri, who was the third of those three cars that did 2 stops, he's still in. He's 14, and that's after his pit stop. So I think Aaron and Greg Brooks might have made an error in terms of fuel strategy there. They might have been stationary for way longer than they needed to.
By the way, Ben Woods is around. Huge lock-up as he runs down into Correntaio. He's gone around, and now he's not facing in the right direction. And that's going to mean a rescue effort required on his behalf. This is what it looked like to run off the second chicane. Watch them all dipping and weaving all over the spot. And he's called that one into race control, but there's going to be no questions asked.
How can he call?
That's on him.
Yeah, how can he call that into race control when he was the one that caused the drama? When you try and send it free wide with somebody returning off the circuit, you know they've got to brake a little bit earlier to try and get it under control. You know, the Audi managed it on the outside there as well, so I'm not quite sure what he feels the issue is there, unless Magri's calling in the Audi for the problem. But I can't. Sorry, dear. So you need to be aware of what's
Well, they've all been bottled up.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether or not it's actually the corner before.
Got to go on the brakes early, regardless.
Well, forget that. I'm all of a sudden questioning that one and going, hang on, why were they bottled up like that?
Because he went off.
So whether or not it's...
You saw Harbinger go off the side of the circuit. So they brought each other into play. The Audi was in there, which was a back marker, unfortunately, anyway. And for Daniel Magri's got to be aware that the Audi's trying to get out the way. You can see he's trying to move. But anticipate the early braking. The Audi's still there. You can't just be gun-ho, go for it, Billy Whiz style. You've got to be aware that you're in your surroundings. That's just general racecraft. But then again, I am a commentator and I don't drive a lot. But at the end of the day, I've seen enough to realise that if that's happening, just back up a little bit and give them a minute.
I back up. You're going to make a spot, JP. If you're a race driver, you're going to think like a race driver.
But then you're going to do that, aren't you? Go away, Peter. Don't get me started.
In order to finish first you must finish is I think what he's trying to say there.
No, I'm just saying, don't, read the situation and slightly, you can see Harbinger's coming back on. You can see he's going to be flustered. You can see he's going to be braking early. You see there's a back marker to the left-hand side who's trying his hardest to get out the way. Be sensible.
You're 100% right. There are actually 3 cars racing for position overtaking a collapsed car. And to be honest, you almost got to be a little bit patient and just get the lap car out of the way and then resume the race. And you've got to be smart about doing that. Too many drivers I see in the sim try to sort of think, oh, this is my chance to go, just because there's a little bit of check up or something when the lap car gets involved. And yes, sometimes you can get advantage of it, but to be honest, there was no advantage there. And all of the cars were off the racing track, well and truly off the racing line on the inside, and you have to brake early on the inside to make a corner. So you're right. That's race smarts, racing awareness. Probably, Ben might have a look at that back on the replay and go, "Oh, that's a bit, that's a bit on me. I didn't need to call that in." But we'll if he doesn't, I guess he'll come and talk to us later. And
the funny part was he was still sideways in the grass whilst he was calling it in.
Well, if he comes in later, I'm not interviewing him, Scotty. I'll leave that one with you. The last thing I need is a heated debate with Daniel Magri about whether or not he should have been lifting a little bit to try and anticipate.
So I feel you.
I'm going to stay out of that one.
I can tell you at this point in time, though, Nick Wood, his teammate, is starting to find some real speed because he took 0.7 of a second on the most recent lap. You know what? Stuart Shaw's recognised he's in a hole, boys. He's dropped 3/4 of a second the last 3 laps in a row. Remember how we said he was out about 4.5 seconds in the lead? Look at the gap right now. It's back under 3, boys. We've got a race on our hands.
You calling that fuel saving, Scotty?
He's in trouble. I reckon he's in trouble. I reckon he's in a big, big hole.
I'm not saying anything because at the end of the day, I think Shaw is, yes, he's come away with things, but his pit lane time was still quick. That was still longer than Owen Coleman and literally Nick Wood. So unless there's major drama going on in that car, because his stop time as well was 22.1. 26.6 for Coleman and 22.92. So if Shaw's in trouble, Wood's got to be in trouble as well, because they're practically identical here as well on the things. But he is a little bit 3 laps earlier.
Unless, you know what? It could be tyres. It actually could be tyres. Is that the secret in all of this? Is that his lap times have just fallen through the floor. He's run 49.9 the last time by, 49.8 for Coleman, 49.5 for Ben Wood. Nick Wood, my apologies, Nick Wood, who's trying to cut his way back through towards him. Well, Wood's the one that's really on the charge. He only took 0.3 of him out on that most recent lap, but could it have been that Stuart Shaw either did take tyres and Wood didn't, or, is there something, there's more at this story?
Honestly,
but that margin's come down massively. It's halved. It's halved since the pit stop, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we obviously don't know that. Obviously, what the situation is, right? We can only, hazard a guess. And Nick McClyman and Tyson Robbs have just swapped places there as well. Need to give a shout out to Provençali. He's up 40 places at the moment and tracking down Alex Kay with Ben Woods behind him. So Provençali doing a great job there as well. So yeah. It's going to be an interesting one, I think, as we're coming into the last 20 minutes. So let's see how it all pans out here, Scotty.
Pete, you got anything to add? Do you think where do you think that margin's coming from?
I think he's fuel saving. Initially I thought, oh no, he's got it, but I don't think it's tyres. Although Sean did initially at the start of the race, he went off pretty quick and then came back to the field. So, it could be just the way he's driving the car. No, look, it's interesting. I can't pick it. It's too close to pick. If he's good for fuel, then he's done the best job in terms of calculating how much he needs and probably taken the highest risk. But maybe it's pressure. Could be pressure. Who knows?
Well, the margin's closing. It's now down under 2 seconds as well. So we are going to end up, we have 20 minutes on the clock. We're under 20 minutes as it currently stands. And for the first race this season, there is going to be an almighty stoush for a race win. Has Stuart Shaw underfilled this car? Well, if you're thinking about a loo break, ladies and gents, sitting along at home, get it in now. Because in about 2 laps' time, you're going to be out of time. Because that is how quickly Coleman's coming at him. Something's happened to Nick Wood on this lap, by the way. He was a significant amount closer. He's dumped a ton of time in Sector 1, Sector 2. So whether or not he might be in a little bit of fuel save mode, remember, he's underfilled this car to try and apply some pressure. And, well, why not? Because there's a huge margin to everyone else as this is stretched out. He's sitting in a reasonable spot as it currently stands. Let's have a look at the times as they come through. Shaw 49.8 for 1, 49.4 for Coleman. Another 0.4 of a second. And yep, Nick Wood has had a huge error on that lap because he's done a 50.3. So at this point in time, Shaw in trouble. It's down under 1.5 seconds, boys. Under 1.5 seconds. Oh, that's my timing. My apologies. It is absolutely not under 1.5 seconds. It's 1.7 or so. But it's closing. It's closing. And Pete?
Yeah, I'm sitting in the cockpit of Shaw, just in my iRacing server, just to see if he's lifting, coasting, and cruising or taking something easy. He doesn't seem to be pushing the car too hard. He does seem to be driving at what I would say is a casually fast rate. I don't know if that's the right description, but it can't be tyres because he's not understeering or oversteering. He's really smooth, like driving the car super smooth. But it doesn't, he's not really holding the car high in the throttle, in the rev range. So maybe it's a bit of fuel conservation more than anything. Let's see what happens when he gets
through the Arabiatas that lap, Pete. He left it in fifth. He left it in fifth. He didn't come down. I thought he might have wanted a little bit of that engine braking. So there's a few things to sort of keep an eye on and be a little bit aware of.
Yeah, just, Race Control have just announced that Richard Mayer in P20, car 948, has received a 5-second penalty for contact with Alfonso Latella, who's in car 16, so on lap 49. So just a penalty there coming in for Richard again. That'll be added to his timer at the end of the race.
Well, now we move down to 17 minutes left to run. Time starts to tick on by. Time starts to run out. And for right now, on my timing, we have now hit that 1.5 second marker. So whether or not the pace from Shaw is starting to recover a little bit, and he's now into the golden zone in his tyres, maybe he's covered up enough of his fuel, and he can now press on a little bit again. Good thing he had 4 seconds up his sleeve.
He's pushing harder this lap. Yeah, Shaw's turned the whip back up this lap, Scotty.
Yeah, you can see it. He's pressing on now. So I reckon that fuel deficit's just been eaten out. He just needed to give himself a little bit of leeway. Nick Wood, it'll be a question mark of can he respond at this late point in the race. Jepson's still 2 seconds behind him, so he's got a nice little window he sits in. And he was deeper in that field, and that fuel strategy's absolutely played him back into contention tonight. And Leith McClimate, he continues to just drift. He's up ahead. He's the next car on the road for the car that's on screen at the moment, which is Desmond Harbinger in 8th. Although Harbinger's only about 1.8 seconds or so behind Leith at this point in time. But Leith's most recent lap, 51.5. And I can tell you about the last 4 laps. It's 5 laps. It's not been pretty. 3 laps out into the 51. So Leith McClimate's tyres are absolutely second-hand as it currently stands.
And don't forget, Ben Jeffrey's carrying a 5-second penalty, so currently running in P5, so he needs to get as far ahead of any cars behind him, as he can.
Hasn't that pace fallen off as the days progressed here, lads? It's dropped about a second across the field.
Yeah, but if they're only trying to double stick tyres or they're playing with tyres, it's going to happen, isn't it? Let's face it. You know, they've got to make sure that they're aware of their situation, and if they are messing around and double stinting and not taking tyres or just taking the outsides or just taking, whatever, it's going to be the case. But I think at the end of the day, all of these guys, it's now down to a second with Coleman and Shaw, by the way. I'd like to point out on that one here as well. Shaw with a 49.8 last time, Coleman with a 49.4. So Coleman pulled 4 tenths over that last lap on him as well. So this battle is going to end up coming in the next few laps, I would have thought, if this keeps happening here as well.
I was trying to talk to somebody actually earlier today about some sim racing dramas. I was trying to remember who it was. But do you guys remember Phillip Island? Actually, I don't think GP you were around at that point. I think Peter might have actually been behind the driver's seat at that point in time. But Chris Pellet, I think it was mid last year, had a big drama with his sim racing equipment, went back through the hardware, and it was on the curb on the entry to turn 1 at Phillip Island in the Audi. He was able to show us all the data. Well, he's just had drama. It was turn 1 on the most recent lap. So unfortunately for Mr. Pellet, he's going to go tumbling through the field as we just keep half an eye on everything that's just sort of unfolding. We're in a holding pattern, but there is 14 minutes now left to go, and time is starting to run out, but Coleman is creeping closer. It's no longer a hop, step, and a jump. It is now just sort of a grab with your fingernails and slowly, slowly drag your belly along the surface back towards Stuart Shaw as we look deeper in the pack here.
Yeah.
He's taking a second. I tell you what, Tyson Robb is quick. Actually, no, my apologies. He's dropped a bunch of times. So on that most recent lap. So Tyson Robb's dropped a couple spots on that very, very recent lap. This will be interesting because this will invite Desmond Harbinger back into the picture as well.
I'm just having a look back into the C-Class field. Aaron Raccanello is still leading the that field with Isaac Norman 2 positions behind. So Aaron's in P16, Isaac's in P18. Third is Nick Bottrell in that field, currently in P20.
Greg Brooks is worth a shout and a look in yet again as well because he's up on the back of Tom Williams and Rick Provenzali. This will be another interesting battle to keep half an eye on. Have a look at these guys. That's Raccanello struggling at the moment to keep that car grounded and turning in. But I tell you what, I think Tom Williams is about to have a dive at Rick Provenzali, or he's trying to cover from Greg Brooks at this point in time. So this is going to be an almighty stoush. And Adrian Gresh is brought into the back of this one as well. So Provenzali's got the ground at the moment, makes a little bit of a mistake by the looks of things on exit. Williams is going to have a go at him, but he's going to cover. And that's invited Greg Brooks to go around the outside. It's a difficult place to place a Porsche and get the job done. He picks up the throttle and he runs wide. Now does Greg Brooks. Saves it, arrests it. Gresh is going to have a go back at him on the outside. They all come through and out the other side. And now that just invites Raccanello back into this one.
Going to be interesting to see here. Look at the Porsche contingency behind it. Williams, Brooks and Gretsch. And we've got a BMW leading the way here. And Latella, Raccanello coming up in the Ferrari behind him as well. So it's going to be seeing who's going to be able to hold the car on track this late on when we've only got 10 minutes remaining. Here, Provenzali is now going to be on that inside line with Trent Williams trying to come around the outside. Provenzali should be able to hold it, get the drive off and get out. Let it open up. Oh, you can't. Okay, would have opened it up and gave him something to think about there as well, as Provenzali still holds on to that position.
Did you see Tom Williams wiggling around in the rear end, though, as he come off of turn 1?
Yeah.
So he's really pushing that Porsche along, trying to just put a little bit of extra energy in those rear tyres. Provenzali now wide as they get down in here, which means he's offline for the next right-hander. And he has a little bit of a wiggle as well. And now they'll all settle themselves down on in. So this one is one to keep your eyes glued to at this point in time.
Yeah, great action kicking in, and it's going to be exciting to see how these guys cope as well, because obviously with not a lot of time remaining, I think they're going to all wanting to wiggle there as well.
Well, here we go. Down to the inside. Greg Brooks shoves the nose down on in. Provenzali was offline, and that's invited Tom Williams to have a go. We saw this a couple laps ago. Now it's going to be Brooks who gets a little bit of a run. He's going to have a look at Provenzali. Provenzali's got Williams on the outside, and Gretsch is going to buy into the argument as well. Provenzali takes it deep, trying to be defensive. And last time by, it was Williams who was on the inside. Provenzali's got no front tyre left. Struggles to keep the thing on the circuit. Brooks goes through on Williams. Now they'll slice and dice. But Provenzali is struggling for turning on that BMW. Might have it hooked up in a straight line, but he is under assault. And here comes Gretsch. He's going to have a dive at Williams into the last corner. It's all come alight, and there's 10 minutes on the clock here, JP.
Yeah, we've got Gretsch. He's trying to come back through there as well. Provenzali's trying. The problem is he's trying to defend, but he's overly defending and making himself going deep, which means he's locking up the tyres, which means he's scrubbing them front wheels like absolute crazy here. So he's got to try
Covers it.
Just go back. He's coming away from the edge of the line now. He's covering it up. Brooks is going to look for the run out on him as well if he can get it, because he knows Provenzali's got not a lot left. You can see Williams in the background and Racanelli, they were side by side as well at one point. But for Provenzali, he's got to get this back under control. He's just got to get the job done here, settle back down again. He can do it in that BMW, but he's got to be hitting them braking markers and getting this car turned in. If he hasn't got nothing left, he's got to defend like a trooper.
0.3 of a second for the race lead, boys. So it's about to be on up at the front end of the field. It's difficult because you don't want to take an eye off this. But I reckon I've just got an inkling that Owen Coleman is going to go around the outside at turn number 1. He's already done that once tonight. It was Adam Jepson who was his first victim. Could Stuart Shaw be another one? He's dropped it. There's been some time lost in the middle sectors on this lap, but now he's in the draft. Now he's in with a shot. He took 0.4 of a second out of him on the last time by. And we still don't have a 100% picture of whether Stuart Shaw is home on fuel. He could still be saving. And we are just under 8 minutes on the clock this time past the stripe. I think we're going to get 4 more laps in. Does Stuart Shaw have 3 or does he have 4 worth of fuel in the tank? Is he in the hole? Is this going to be on for the race leaders? Do he just say, you know what, I've got to try and throw this guy off his game and hopefully I'll earn another spot?
How, though?
And Scotty, while you take a breath, mate, there's bad news there for Adam Lee Holland, currently running in P22. He's copped a 5-second penalty for moving under brakes against car 86 a little bit earlier on. So another penalty been dished out there.
I think these guys are going to settle down. Time for a check-in back to 12. Provenzali now back on the main straight.
Got to hold it. That's the problem.
And is anyone in a close enough position? Well, it's going to be Racanelli, who slices down the inside of Tom Williams. He gets the job done right there. Glenn Arnott is the car that's sitting in the background of this pack, ladies and gentlemen, off the lead lap, not in contention. So just ignore that yellow teammate car to Nick Wood. And that's the Twitchy Foot Racing outfit.
He got a slow run, did Provenzali then as well. He almost was done by Brooks. And I say almost because it just Brooks couldn't quite get it turned in enough at the moment here as well. But he's trying his hardest, and he knows he's got to get close to him. He knows he's just got to go and send it. Big twitch from Brooks there as well. And now Provenzali's running a little bit. He's taking that wider line. He's now trying to go through here again, once again here. But this is the tricky section that Provenzali seems to struggle with. He's on the brakes early. He's trying to get the turn here. I'll tell you what, he was nearly turned, but not by his own doing there, as Brooks got very, very close.
Yeah, it was nearly turned in, nearly a tap on the rear to turn him around. For tiptoeing around at Greg Brooks at the moment, he's looking for a sign of vulnerability. It's understeer, it's slow speed understeer. That's the problem for the 700 car that leads the front end of this pack. And on the run down of turn number 1, continues to defend our race leader at this point in time. Shaw still hanging on to it at this point. But we want to keep an eye on this battle pack because it's exciting, it's interesting, there's things going on. And Gretsch is in the catbird seat. He's going to watch these two along. Whether or not there'll be popcorn out, I think he might want a water bottle when this one's done. Might have an opportunity on this straight to just grab a sip, calm himself down. But for Greg Brooks, this might be the opportunity this time by JP.
Yeah, he's got to try and have a go. We'll keep on board with Gretsch. We'll see what Provenzali's going to do. Not a lot, actually, to be fair. He knows Brooks is not close enough to try and take that dive. Provenzali's parking it on the apex here. He is parking it unbelievably to try and make sure that he can hold on to this position. And he knows he's got to. If he's struggling with tyres, if he's struggling overall, he knows he's got to park it up. There's just nothing he can do. He's got to come away from the white line a little bit. Park the car in the middle of the track. As Pete said earlier on at the top of the show, it can be very difficult to overtake at Mugello. And at the moment, Brooks is finding that, as we can see back here on board with Gretsch. He's just, none of them are going really forward because Provenzali is doing such a great job that he's just not giving them the space to do it. And I think that's the thing. And I think, Provenzali could hold it here. He could hold it, but he's going to have to defend for his life here.
The key, JP, is this corner right here. This little right-hander, turn number 10. That is where Provenzali's looked the weakest, if not 10. 11 he's been okay through. It's then the run down to turn number 12. When he's been forced to be defensive, he runs it wide. He's in a little bit of trouble. Oh, Shaw's in the lane. He was short. He was a couple laps short. He's 4 minutes short. Put a capital T on the end of that one because it's trouble for the race leader. Into the garage, into the lane. It's going to be a splash of fuel. And he was a mile and a half short. He was never in contention.
Man, that was not... Yeah, not a good idea. I don't know if Shaw thought he was going to be able to hold on to that one, but clearly he hasn't. He's now come back out in, well, he's down in 11th. And he's coming out right in front of this battle as well. So if Shaw's not careful, he could end up being dragged into the Provenzali, Brooks and Gretsch battle. But hopefully, he might be just being able to get the pace a little bit there and get away with it. As Alex K is going at it once more as well. He's got Ben Woods behind him currently in the Porsche. So it looks like Owen Coleman, Nick Wood and Jepson are the 1, 2, 3 of the opening round here, really.
Well,
I reckon I've worked it out, Scotty. I reckon Stuart Shaw's used auto fuel and it's had safety car calculations in it and it's short fueling.
Yep, I'd probably agree with that. I'd 100% agree with that. You sort of know going in, I'm going to need about this sort of a mark of worth of fuel.
Yeah.
And at 40 minutes, you want to just make sure you toggle all your auto fills off on the run into the lane at that point in time. You just want to fill it. You want to fill the tank. You want to tell everything, and that's difficult. There's multiple sets of software you've got to tell that to. iRacing is one of them. Race Labs, for me, runs it. Crew Chief is another that the multiple different drivers do. And I know that Driving Racing Engineer is the sponsor that's on board for Nick Wood and the Twitchy Foot Racing outfit. And that does some of their fuel calculations as well. So you've got to reach to multiple places, and sometimes it's just not enough time. You're a single car outfit. You're out there without support, and that means you've got to have AI support. And sometimes that's also the worst possible thing that can come your way. So that battle now resolved. We turn our eyes back to the battle that is difficult to take your eyes off, JP. Can Greg Brooks, with probably 2 more laps left of this thing, get the job done? Because he is up against it right now with that 700 BMW. I've seen some wide BMWs in my time, and Rick Provenzali's trying to get his name on that list.
Oh, yeah, he stuck that BMW and made that BMW as wide as possible. You know, he's got, what's he got, 137 on the clock. So the leader has gone through. I think this might be the final lap. But it's going to be Racanello.
We'll get one more.
Racanello going at it here with Gretsch, and Gretsch has got the inside line. Racanello's running outside in that Ferrari. Gretsch is going to go up there as well. He should hold it on the exit just to open up the steering a little bit, give Racanello something to think about. He did do that, and now Racanello can't get through here as well. McMenamin is also into the pit, so he's short of fuel currently at the moment, but Brooks is not really closing up to the back of Provenzali anymore here, and it looks like Provenzali might have got a breather currently at the moment. Where's our leader? Our leader is on his way around turn 12. We've got 50 seconds. Quite close.
There'll be another lap.
Yeah, sure. I think there'll be another lap as well. When he crossed the finish line last time, there was about 2 minutes on the clock. So there was time in it by the skin of our teeth, about 10 seconds worth. Whether or not we'll get the checkered flag, we'll keep half an eye on this one. It's going to be Owen Coleman at the moment that has control. Nick Woods is less than a second behind him, and I wonder whether or not Coleman was half a lap sort of short. He sort of second-guessed himself, and now he's had to go on the offensive to try and run down short. He's done so. This time by the line, I reckon there's going to be a big old white flag as they pass the flag stand on the right-hand side, and indeed, that was a white flag. One more lap to go. Who has got the cojones to get the job done in both battle packs, both up front and deeper in the field? It's going to be a second back, and there might be one opportunity at the tail end of the lap, but it's got to be a brilliant lap from Nick Wood.
Yeah, and
I don't think he's close enough, to be honest. I think Nick's got too much to have to make up to get that position.
I agree with that. That's exactly what I was going to say there, Pete. It was like us old men had the same fault at the same time there as well. I think it's too far back. I don't think he's going to get it. I think Coleman is going to wrap this one up, to be honest, here as well. Provenzali now has got Brooks even closer than he did have previously. So Brooks is now 3 tenths away from Provenzali as we're on the final lap. So there's not many places left for Brooks to even attempt to have a go. Maybe a run up into Materazzi if he can get it, but it's not going to be easy, I don't think. Through Casanova, Cervelli, possibly on the run into Arabiata, but other than that, I think Brooks is going to rely on Provenzali make a mistake, and I don't think Provenzali is going to do that, as he hasn't for pretty much most of the afternoon.
Well, he did make a few mistakes earlier on when we were watching this battle pack, and it was down through this section right here, but he hasn't run quite as wide as they come through the left-hander at the bottom of the hill. Up through Arabiata. There's a car stopped on the left-hand side. I think Benjamin Brooks might be out of fuel as he's parked up on the side of the road, and now they crest the hill. They're going to come up on the back of Tyson Robbs. Tyson Robb is out of fuel as they come up on the rear bumper of him, and they go sailing by. So Tyson Robb is now out of fuel. And now it becomes that this was the vulnerable part. Brooks has run wide. There'll be nothing left in the offering for him now, but he'll have to hold it off. Coleman's going to go by the line. He'll put the name in the books. It'll be Coleman from Nick Wood from Jepson as they currently stand. Then we'll jump our way back deeper in the field. We've got to keep an eye on this battle between Gretsch and Brooks. Gretsch did not get the spot as he ran around the outside. We've got this battle on a little bit further up the road as well. And it's going to be Ben Jeffrey, I think. No, my apologies. It's going to be the Twitchy Foot car who's trying to get himself locked back in. Is that's our second battle pack, I think.
It's the K Woods battle. Sure, Provenzali does hold up. Gretsch is out of fuel.
Was it Adrian Gretsch a couple of weeks ago? I think it was.
He did it in the GT4.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it's the same driver.
Yes. He did at the GT4. He lost 20 positions almost.
Oh, he got over the line this time, though, mind you. He did get over the line last time, didn't he? Let's be real.
No, he didn't.
Oh, my word.
Gretsch was, I think I saw the YouTube short from the guys here as well, where they put it as all by myself. I think he was just sat on the line 5 feet away as well for Adrian Gretsch. But at least this time he finished the race, so well done to him.
My word. I swear to God, he is going to pull out his race engineer and have a box on with him in the pit lane. 2 in a row, Adrian Gretsch runs out of fuel.
Yeah. See, this is why look, he's even parked there, look, on the right-hand side. He didn't even go anywhere else. For me, right, this is where I fail as a driver. I just go into the pit. I literally just go in, fill the thing right up, and then come out again. And then I'll go back in and fill it right up if I'm doing like a longer run, and come back out again. I don't mess around with all these up and down and round and rounds. And I can explain why I never win, really, because I spend too much time in the pits. But yeah, I just want to run it dry and then crack on with it. I don't know about anybody else. I think that's probably my way of dealing with it, to be honest.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, race is now in the books. And I tell you what, wasn't it a barnstorm to bring our way home? Owen Coleman is going to win it. And he's going to win it by just over a second. Nick Wood did close well up inside that 1 second on the final lap of the race. He tried too hard trying to get there. He had to throw everything he possibly could at him. He's going to fall short by just over a second. Adam Jepson closes in the final stage of that race, 3 seconds out from our race win. Ben Jeffrey a little bit further back in terms of things in fourth. Leith McClimate rounds out your top 5 for Tractix Racing. He'll be pleased with his first night at the office. Des Harbinger showed flashes of speed. Unfortunately for him, got involved in some incidents. That'll drop him down the field. From Daniel Magri and Alex Kay running out your top 8. Ben Woods and Robert Shaw. He'll be sitting there and he'll be looking at the one next to his name and he'll be thinking, can I put a line through that 0? Because it should have just been number 1. He had the margin, he had them covered, and he underfilled the car. Rick Provenzali gets back to P number 11, and Greg Brooks, for also Tractix Racing, finishes in 12th. It was a great race for him. It was exciting to keep our eyes on. Aaron Raccanello in 13th spot from Tyson Robb. Adrian Gretsch is then going to be the next one across the line, rounding out your top 15. Before we throw it back to 16th place, Tom Williams. By my count, I have Aaron Raccanello as the leader of the challenges, but we've been informed that's not 100% correct. Might be some changes to come to that. In terms of things, Alfonso Latella comes home behind Tom Williams, who was in 16th, Latella 17th. Richard Mayer from Isaac Norman is your leader of the challenger class, finishes all the way down in 19th by the information we are most recently working from. Nick Bottrell finishes second in challenger. Adam Holland, your top 3 in terms of your challenger class. Chris Prellett had a miserable day at the office by his reckoning, 22nd. Brock Cat-Eye was flashes of speed and then flashes of nowhere. Jacob Hughes was next home for the elites, and Mark Foster, well, he led a lot of laps and he can be proud of that one. I think he will thoroughly enjoy that one. John O'Kiley home in 26th. Trent Allen 27th. It's then going to be 28th for Matthew Kidd. Rue Koistra in 29th. Daniel Fritz 30th. James Salhani 31st. Jessee McMenamin, Martin Hallinan, Matthew Norris, Chris Ruddle, Brent Tucker home in 36th, your last car on the lead lap. Sean Bonici off the lead lap. Robert Edwards both at 1 lap down. Kosh Kelly 2 laps down, will be followed home by Benjamin Brock, and who ran out of fuel, by the way. That's an important note. Andrew Dutch, Greg McIntosh, Jimmy Middleton, Glenn Arnott, Darren Burgess, Chris Cornelio, Hugo Sutherland didn't finish the race. Neither did Cornelio, retired very early on. Darren Burgess was 18 laps down. Mal Powell was the first of the retirements of 56 laps down, and looks like didn't start the race for Andrew Proctor. Issues there. So he will be registered as 60 laps down, unfortunately. So big issues for him, but that is all in the books, boys. Boy, was that a barnstormer to get the season off and running.
Yeah, it definitely was for the first one.
More they stay the same.
No, it definitely was for the first one. It was great. I think the thing is, I think there's more to this. I think there's more to this season. And, we've got some big tracks going forward. Aragon, Zolder, Montegi, or Spa. I'll be interested to see which Aragon we're running, whether or not it's a touring car version or whether or not it's the outer. Now, if it's the outer version is amazing. You never get to see. They haven't got the chicane. I'm just going to check if there is a session set up for the Motorland Aragon. I'll be able to tell you it is the Grand Prix layout, so it's not the janky touring car layout and it's not the outer layout. That's going to be an interesting one. Zolder, Motegi and Spa. I think at the end of the day we've got great circuits, and I think Shaw's got the opportunity to come back even stronger than what he's done previously there, and I think he'll do well, Pete, and I think this could be anybody's race within that top 5 or 6.
I was going to say, the more they change, they stay the same. It's the same sort of names at the top of the field from last season. But what we got tonight is we got a good look at some new names that genuinely challenge. And, if it wasn't for Stuart Shaw having and what we think is an error on fueling, then I think, absolute genuine new challenger to the series, and that's fantastic. Des Harbinger, another new challenger to the series, up in the top 10. So seeing those new names up in the top 10 is exciting for the series for me. Dan Magri, again, he's come from nowhere with fuel strategy and got up. But if you have a look at the challenger class, in the top 3, Nick Bottrell's the only one that was in the last season. So Isaac Norman, Adam Lee Holland. So we've got 2 new challengers up in the top 3 of that. And then we've got Brock Carday, Jacob Hughes, before we get to Fozzie and the Line Machine. So, new names, new season, exciting. And tonight, it just produced an awesome race, right? I mean, you don't predict in time or plan when the safety car goes out, but I loved when it went out tonight. I thought it was just fabulous for us.
Boys, can I just say as well, I was just having a quick look through. You guys just said the leaders of the Challenger class. Well, I'd like to nominate a new class, and that is the Fuel Challenged class. And so far, Adrian Gretsch has taken out that award 2 races in a row.
Oh, he's killing it for Premier. Yeah.
I believe
it. Boy.
Oh, you are so harsh, Scotty, there as well. But I do agree with you. Poor old Adrian Gretsch.
Yeah. I mean, I say it laughing at him, and I'm sitting there with my head in my hands for him because I'm like, 1 race, okay. You go, oh man, that's frustrating. But 2 races. The first race is funny. The first race is hilarious. The second one is, why? Why did it happen again? So he'll have some questions. I mean, he'll ask them. He'll fix them. I mean, that's all part of sim racing, is it? You get out there, you make mistakes, you learn from them, you go again.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And that's exactly what you do. So there we go. But I believe we've got some people waiting for you, Scotty, in the green room, if I'm not mistaken.
I do. I've already gotten ahead. I've gotten excited to talk to Adam Jepson, who's out and lapping it up in terms of a new season. 2024 brings through new things, Adam. For you, you've gone ahead and gone, I like me some of that Porsche. I'm going to lock it in nice and early on, mate. You feeling stable, feeling comfortable for the new season, new Porsche, new track? It worked out.
Yeah, look, after the last season, I needed a change of scenery. I think that the Porsche is pretty well suited to these sorts of tracks. I'm pretty comfortable driving it, so yeah, why not? Give it a crack.
In terms of things, Mugello, it's fast. The hill on the main straight is something that, we'll talk to Adrian Gretsch about. I think he wants that to be absolutely flattened out. But anyway, moving on. In terms of things, mate, fuel strategy, that safety car, oh boy, did that set the race a little. It just took things and added an extra step to it.
Yeah, I think without that, it would have been a Nick Wood walk in the park, given he's the fuel king at the moment. So, yeah, putting that in, everyone kind of got a full tank to the very end. A little bit of saving for, I know I was doing it, Ben was doing it behind me, so a couple of litres saved and took us to the end.
In terms of things, mate, you weren't sitting on the podium later on in that piece. You were looking up the road and going, man, I'm just off it, but gee, to be nice. Well, you received a gift late on. Well, did Christmas come 2 months late, mate?
Look, to be honest, I was kind of, a little bit of me was thinking, or I had a feeling that might have been the case, given he short field or was out of the pit box quicker than what we were. I was kind of thinking, well, yeah, that could mean one thing, I guess. Fingers crossed it all does play out how I want, and eventually it did. So, yeah, happy days.
How'd the prep work go leading into this one? Because it's obviously been quite an extended little bit of a break, a fair bit of time off. Did you get away with that time, or was there a lot of time sitting down, okay, we've got Mugello, it's a new track, there's no data here, we've really got to nail this setup for race one?
Look, the professional in me wants to say I was sitting here pounding out laps and getting a setup dub, but I ran a couple of sessions in the week or so leading up to it to get mine, and yeah, that's about it.
And finally, mate, in terms of things, thank you for jumping on board and having a chat with us as well. Who's the sponsors to make it possible for you and your boys?
So the Bluebell Racing Team. Shout out to the lads.
Mate, congratulations out there tonight. I tell you what, it was interesting to watch. Keep us set alight, mate. A couple laps led. Hopefully, it'll be the most important one next time out.
Fingers crossed.
Pleasure chatting to you, Adam Jepson, as usual. We'll move one step further up the rostrum. Jimmy, I'll let you take this one away. I think we've got Nick Wood out of P2 for you.
Nick, welcome in there, buddy. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. So you should be, mate. Great job today. Did you think at any point you were going to get the victory?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
Well, if we hadn't had the safety car, then maybe, but I think it would be unlikely. I didn't have the pace of those guys. I just got lucky with my fuel saving.
Well, you were close though, right? Does it? Okay, so you said you wouldn't, and that was fine. But do you think as the season goes on, you're going to get closer and closer? Because let's be real, you're in front of Jepson. You know, Shaw's made an issue with his fuel. You're not too far behind Coleman. You're only a second back here. Surely that's got to be boosting for your confidence, right, going into the next one.
Oh, definitely. Definitely looking forward to the next races because the BMW is not really suited to Mugello, so I'm pretty happy with the result tonight. I would have been happy with a top 5. That would have been great.
Well, you are up 6 places, young sir, as well. So fair play to you. Anyone you want to shout out, Nick, before we let you go, buddy?
Just to the league in general and GT3 for supporting the league and all the sponsors on our car, Osfield Warehouse, Dre, and Player One Sim Gear. Thank you.
No worries there as well. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Nick, and look forward to seeing how you get on next time.
Thank you very much. Look.
Oh, take him out there, Scott.
Oh, I cut it. Yeah, I cut him off. That's on me.
Well, I'm not being blamed for that one. Pete, you can chat to Owen. There you go.
Owen, congratulations. P1, Race 1, Season 2. What a great way to start this season, given that you don't have the number 1 on your plate. Talk us through your race, mate.
I'm not going to lie, I got sick of looking at the back of Leith's car. I couldn't find a way past, and then finally got a better run onto the back or the main straight, and I was just like, nah, going for it, and then yeah. But
were you worried much about Stewie Shaw, because he seemed to have quite a lot of pace tonight?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think I was going to match him. I've been in a few practice sessions with him, and yeah, he's got pretty decent speed. So my main focus was just to get past Leith and then see what my speed would be compared to the Adam and Stewart. So yeah, and then once I got past Leith, it was caught up to Adam and had a bit of wheel to wheel on the first corner, and then I think Stewart was trying to fuel save a fair bit at the end there, and and then he ended up having to duck off. So
yeah, 2 laps short. But talk us through your mindset when that safety car came out. That was mid stint for the second stint. Yeah, what were you doing and what were you thinking about going to do? Were you watching the other cars, or you just made up your mind well and truly you're just going to keep it as a two-stopper?
I was sort of just going off what the guys in front of me were doing, and I was just like, oh, if they pit, I'll pit. But yeah, they ended up staying out, so I stayed with them, and then Stuart sort of jumped us all in the pits. So I'm just like, oh, either he's really good on fuel or he's short fueled. So he's obviously fueled just a bit not enough, I should say. Sorry.
Scotty called that as a short fuel earlier on. I wasn't so sure, but I wasn't sure whether he was sort of saving because he did drift back a bit. But you had a fight all the way through pretty much for that whole race, mate.
100%.
Congratulations. Congratulations on P1. You certainly earn it. Who would you like to have shout-outs to tonight?
Obviously, Gaming Gear Direct, you guys in race control, all the sponsors on the car, like you got Colourful Learning, John Scott Motors, Motorsport Hauler, Grindtech Flooring, Fred Peanut Kids Boutique, and electrical solutions. But just everyone that makes this all happen. It's been awesome.
Well, thanks for that, Owen, and congratulations. What a great way to start the season. But I've got a feeling, mate, you're not going to have it all your own way, and it's going to be a fight all the way through to the end. So enjoy the racing. It was really good to observe tonight, and you guys up the front have been racing like true professionals. So well done for putting on a good show, and congratulations on that result.
Thanks, guys. I'm glad it was good to watch.
Boys, what a cracker. I mean, we are now over and done with. It is all done, all set. But I tell you what, I'm keen. I'm keen for another month's time when we go racing yet again. I tell you what, if the fuel battles are anything like what we just saw here tonight, another safety car among the pigeons, there'll be a few guys who'll be watching this broadcast back tomorrow and go, yeah, you know what? I was tight on fuel too. I'm glad I remembered to turn it off. That is going to become part of their race procedure here, Pete.
It will be. I mean, you really have to think about how you do that if you use auto fueling, particularly around safety cars, because auto fueling does do a bit of a 3 or 5 lap average, I think it is. And if you had a safety car in that window, it's going to screw you every time. So that's what you've got to keep in mind. And it's easy to forget if you have a pit stop soon after that. So maybe there's something in the background, Stu's going to have a look at that. But I tell you what, he put on a massive show tonight. I'm looking forward to what he can do. I have no doubt that he'll get that sorted for next race, and maybe be just a little bit more conservative. And then he's going to be up in that top 3 battle, fighting for podiums and wins. And it's going to be good to see new name, fighting there in Premier. So exciting. And to be honest, back in the Challenger field again, mate, there's new names there, and it's close racing, close fighting. So, there was a few incidents through the night, but nothing that are sort of out of the ordinary. Things that just people are trying to race, and I called it as a very, very difficult place to overtake. So I kind of expected that race control would have a busy night because of that. On these sorts of races, you've got to be really patient. So whatever the next track brings us, time will tell. I don't think I've raced at the next track yet, so I haven't. I'll have to go and do some laps and make my own mind up. But exciting things ahead, mate. What a great bloody season we've got ahead of us.
Well, I'll tell you what, it has been awesome bringing you tonight's racing action. JP, what are your final thoughts from that one?
Bring on Aragon, son. Bring on Aragon. Hopefully, as well, we won't have the technical issues that we had last time out, so I do apologise about that. I was working frantically in the background at the same time, but hopefully we managed to get them sorted out as well, and it did kind of settle down towards the end. But I think Aragon's going to be really interesting. Zolder as well. Oof. That's going to be an exciting one. But I think overall, we're in for a good shout. We're in for a good treat. And let's see how the season gets on.
How good is the European holiday? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you to you watching along at home. But more importantly as well, don't forget the sponsors that make it all possible on our side of the fence. We could not do it without Player One Sim Gear. If you're looking for your latest in simulation parts, be that racing simulation, be that flight sim, or be it the golf sim, I know that I might have to take up golf after some of the videos that I've seen. But I tell you what, if I'm looking for my way to get into golf, it's going to be through Player One Sim Gear. Sorry, my apologies. I've gone the wrong way with that one. Another series I work on, Gamer Gear Direct. I sincerely apologize to everyone. Gamer Gear Direct. If you're looking for your simulation experts, it's Gamer Gear Direct. In terms of things as well, we cannot do it without any of the other sponsors that make it possible. For everyone here at Premier Endurance League, from a night at Mugello in the Italian hillside, it has set the world alight, as the feisty Italians do. Next time out, Motorland Aragon. We'll see you all there in a month's time.